bouncing back. I keep coming back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. It's just a mission. I do them in my sleep, no commission. I like a side quest, love opposition. With surgical precision, they make losing their tradition. Yeah, they talk, but what they say to me, I'm chewing it all, sitting my jaw, the way that I hurt you to think. I'm building a wall, 90s tall between you and me. I'm out of space, you're out of peace. It's a different game when I'm out of your league. Say you wanna love, if you wanna love, make a move, don't stop and wonder. Gotta take it out, 'cause I wanna love. No, I stumble, I'll keep bouncing back. Take your cap, take your step, take a step, 'cause I've been back. Oh, just like that, I beat you in, crank up back to back. Oh, just like that, I see a dub in my future stats. Oh, I know a place you can go. The doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy, and sometimes it's cold. Now sit and watch me get this gold. Own it all, own it all. I'll bounce back. I just want it all, I just want it all. I'm gon' bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. Said you want it all, I'll bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. I can have it all. If you knock me down, I will feel the fall. I just got back up, I'll bounce back. I just want it all, I just want it all. I'll keep bouncing. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back.
welcome to FNCS. Heats 1 and 2 of Major 1 were absolute cinema, so today we're going to complete the trilogy with Heat 3. I'm Frankie Ward. I am joined by Takata and Mini Miner. Hello, boys. Takata. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I'm back.
Are you feeling emo today? Are you feeling emo because the last chance qualifiers have got so many big names in them that we're definitely not going to see some of our favourites reach the grand final next weekend?
Look, it's been a scary heats, various heats, and Last Chance, I think, are the most stacked they have ever been, literally. Like, I'm almost the most excited to see how Last Chance plays out, but for that, we have to see how Heat 3 concludes, and Mini, we're gonna have a fun day.
Yeah, super excited for it. Really excited to see how Heat 3 goes down. The last chance qualifiers are looking absolutely stacked right now as well. So many big names in there. So will we see another upset today where we're going to hop right into it, I'm sure. And I'm really excited. It's going to be great.
I'm really excited. Also, mark your calendars, Tuesday, we are going to be broadcasting the last chance qualifiers. How could we not, guys? So make sure that you join us for that one. But as you mentioned, Mini Minor, we've still got Heat 3 to go. Let's talk, though, first about some history, because this Danish trio, Pablo, Chino, Fredoxy, they made it so big this time last year. They did great at Global Championships, and then duos came along and broke our hearts, or more specifically, Fredoxy's hearts. But first of all, Takata, can you just remind us of how much this trio broke through last year?
Yeah, I mean, 2025 Trios, second Major 2. They won Major 3 and 7th at Globals. And saying that 7th didn't feel like a great performance for this trio really says something. I mean, they were at the top throughout every major that year. And I mean, 7th is a dominant performance, but going into trios this year, Chino, Pablo did stay together. Fredoxy playing with Sangild.
Yeah, they were a very firepower heavy duo. Their place, or trio, I should say, their play style was very, very box to box. They were getting their surge in a completely different way to so many other teams at the time, and they were very much focused on getting shotgun shots close up. And I think that's where, of course, Chino and Pablo really come in, because they're now together as a duo here, and they're the sort of team that I'm really excited to see right now, because they've sort of picked up where they left off with trios, with some really, really great divisional cup performances. For me, Takata, Chino is the standout player in this team. Such a force in the region, popping off in the solo series at the moment as well. So really excited to see what he can bring this major.
Yeah, I mean, got second place in a Div Cup finals, but you talked about Chino. Pablo, in my opinion, is kind of also almost a great match in the terms of he's kind of like this IGL fragger. It reminds me of Thomas HD and Focus. I mean, both players can frag. Pablo's got that IGL mindset, and you know, if it goes any way like it did for Thomas HD and Focus, game one is going to be exciting for this duo.
Is it going to be exciting, though, for Fredoxy and Sangild, Takata? Because Fredoxy last year putting up huge damage-dealing numbers, IGL getting it done. But this year, we haven't really seen that from him. We haven't seen any big numbers from him.
It's interesting because if you look right here on the screen and you just cover up the left side that shows Fredoxy and you look purely on the placements, you're like, why are we talking about this player, right? The placements don't live up to the name, and honestly, I don't think the results will actually translate to what this duo is actually capable of. Fredoxy himself was saying, you know, I was kind of slacking on the offseason, not trying as much, but now FNCS is on. Wait for FNCS. That's where I'm going to perform. And honestly, Minnie, I think I'd put them kind of like a wild card here.
Well, I hope so, because the performances so far have not been great, particularly when you consider that these guys are, of course, or Fredoxy himself is the reigning FNCS champion. Going to be contested down there at Squibbly Shores today, so interested to see how that goes. We all know that Fredoxy's sort of like the off-spawn GOAT, right? And he's even actually already claimed the drop spot for Grand Finals, it seems like. He's actually moved iDrop's team away and Marius' team away to the north side of the map, so it's almost like he's claiming it before. The off-spawn aura is unreal, so really excited to see how that goes down today.
Yeah, it's interesting with Fredoxy because he is a reigning major champion. We've already shown you guys the details, right? He was winning the August Major 3, and now potentially he's not even going to make the grand finals of Major 1 Mini Minor. And for me, that's kind of shocking considering last year's performance.
I mean, look at the names on this list, though. Look at the teams that have not made the following major after winning the previous one. There's so many big names on there. And this is not a list that you want to be a part of, Takata, but we don't want to jinx him. But the way the performances are going for Fredoxy right now, it's not looking great. It's looking a little bit rough. So hopefully for him, he doesn't join that list.
It's scaring me a bit, Minnie. It's scaring me.
Well, listen, we've got another Danish duo in the lobby tonight, and this is evidence of what happens when two players who have an established chemistry and game plan stick together for the long haul. Sky and Scroll, they already qualified for the Reload finals later this year, and now they're looking to do the same in FNCS Takata.
Yeah, this is an incredibly consistent duo. I mean, Sky and Scroll have been performing at the top of the top in EU, especially this season. You can see their average placement is 4 in Div Cup finals. When you look at top teams in competitive Fortnite Europe and you ask anyone to make a list, Sky and Scroll will always be top 3 in that list. I have no doubt that they will qualify. I'm not saying I'd put a sticky note on it, Frankie, but I do think they have what it takes to even win Major 1. But Minnie, do you think they're gonna make a win happen, or are they gonna qualify through consistency today?
Well, they can definitely win, and we've seen that throughout this major. We've seen them going for height, and this is the way they like to do it. We saw it a lot throughout the heat so far. You can see them combining that overdrive grenade with that flowberry mist just to gain so much height. And it's quite silent as well, just to sneak up on those height teams. A lot of teams aren't really privy to this right now, and you'd expect them to be, really, because so many teams are doing it. But this is one of those teams that do it so well. You saw one example right there, staying back in the storm, using their splashes to stay healthy and alive inside of that time as well, and just sneaking up behind so many of those teams. And I think a big part of why they're able to do that so effectively is the fact that they know each other so well. You mentioned it there, Frankie. They've been together for so long. They've even stuck to the same drop spot throughout this entire chapter as well. They just seem to do everything the same every single time. I wouldn't be surprised if they wear the same t-shirts every single time they play. They just don't change anything. And it's great. And you can see the results right now.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just won game 1 and the rest of the lobby breathed a sigh of relief. Let's head over, though, to Lemon 2K and Taco, because the lobby is stacked tonight, and I think Levin in particular is quite excited.
I'm very excited, Frankie, because when we look at the heats going into things, there were a lot more UK players than what I'm used to seeing over the past couple of years. In fact, the UK had the second most players representing in the heats. We've already had quite a couple really good duos, I'd say, Taco, qualify through. And when I look at this heat today, I'm looking at Nebs and Nathan as the pride and joy of UK Fortnite right now. And I want to see these guys make it to finals and represent us well.
Yeah, you guys aren't losing recipes any longer. I mean, these guys are trying to make whole cookbooks at this stage. And Nebs, Nathan, certainly a duo that can get the job done. Although they are going to be contested at Humble Hills here today, their last couple of performances throughout the Div Cup finals leading into this heat stage is still enough for me to think that it's warranted to believe that they can get through from consistency, because at least half of their matches during those Div Cup finals, they were finding those top 10 performances. And that's realistically all they're going to have to do if they can't get the victory royale here today.
The thing I'm really worried about, though, is when we look at how the heats have gone so far in EU, the people who've been supposed to be doing good just haven't been working out like that. So a part of me is, worried a bit, but I'm still going to be confident for my boys. I think, again, the talent is there, the experience is there. Hopefully, this is the heat where experience does actually shine through for some of these OG players.
I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest, but we'll see what Frankie in the desk has to say for the rest of the lobby.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm loving the fact we're having so many national duos stepping up to the plate. Obviously, it didn't work out going international for Rax and Seti yesterday. Italy and Poland, apparently, the cuisines don't mix. Maybe the players just need a bit more time to find their fusion. But you put 2 British players together, you put 2 Danish players together, and you put 2 Polish players together, and it's chef's kiss, especially if your names are Deus and Darm, Takata.
Yeah, I love this duo. I mean, I'm excited for this season. If we look back at last year and even the year before that, just comparing how quick their rise to fame was, 23K combined earnings to getting 3rd place in Major 2 trios, over 200K in earnings, and even 6th on a global stage. One thing's being able to perform online, another is at a global championship, and many, they have what it takes.
Yeah, they were the breakout trio last year and took a lot of people by surprise, but now they've cemented themselves as a very top team in the region. Remember, at the beginning of this season, won the first divisional cup, so a lot of people thought, yeah, these guys are the real deal. I was looking back at that. They did get quite fortunate with a lot of those zones, but still, nevertheless, performed incredibly well. And even in the second one, they did qualify. They got 17th place in the second divisional cup. So important to see what these guys can do now today. They are going to Dark Dominion. They are contested there as well, because of course, remember, they were landing at Tip Top Terrace throughout the entire of the season. That now doesn't really exist anymore. So we're going to see these guys down at Dark Dominion. I'm excited to see what they can bring, because they are a very top team in the region. It's just going to be about whether they're going to go for a win or they're going to try and play consistent.
Well, let's look at the lobby list because we actually haven't had a chance to look at it so far, even though we've discussed a number of amazing duos so far. So let's go to page 2. Scroll to page 2, please, production, because on page 2, we have got Flixy, and we were talking about German players yesterday, and Flixy, arguably Mini Minor, is the strongest player that Germany has based on last year's performance.
Yeah, Flixy's been such a prominent force in the EU region, even from late on in the duos when he was playing with Vico. Him and Vico were just such a strong force, placing first in that third major of the last duo season we had, and of course fourth at that Globals, then rolling over into trios with Vico and Venno, won that first major of trios as well, so just has so much firepower and so much potential, and it sort of brings me back to when Flixy was playing with Vico. They were a very, very scary duo. Vico was just almost in his prime, if not in his prime at that point in terms of fragging. Flixy was doing the same as well, whilst assisting with tarps. And I think looking at the way that this team composition works now with Chap, I don't think Chap reached his potential when it came to playing with Tini. They had a couple of second places. They looked like the real deal, but could never get over the line. Could this now be the time for Chap to Carter to really reach his potential?
I'm hoping it is, Mini, because in terms of this season, honestly, I don't know if it lived up to the expectations of the performances from last year. I mean, looking strictly on Flixy, you mentioned it yourself, I would say the best 2025 performance for a German player when he was trued up with Vico and Venno. But looking specifically at this season, duoed up with Chap, they got 10th in the first Div Cup, 14th in the second Div Cup. It's kind of that middle end of the leaderboard. Now, they are dropping from the same place where Reason and Noah qualified from yesterday, so I'm hoping to see them make it through, but I do have high expectations for this team, and I want them to do more than just qualify.
One last duo we should discuss tonight, because I'm sure we've got some Gentle Mates fans watching. Bonjour, Nikov. Is Akira and Kurama. And both of these players are going to be looking to make up for the disappointment of not making it to the last LAN in Lyon, by at least making it to the Major One Summit in Düsseldorf. But is it looking likely at this stage, Takata?
Look, I think they're a duo that's always going to make it. The issue I have is a lot of the times in these major events, they're kind of also at that middle end. Now, they did win a Div Cup leading into this, but they also got 24th in the next Div Cup. And the issue is they were uncontested both times, and now they are contested. So I really want this year to be kind of Akira Kurama's year. I want to see them get a super solid performance in one of the major finals. And in terms of qualification, I'm pretty sure they're going to qualify, Mini, but I want to see them go above that.
Yeah, of course, they got the Org buff now together with the Gentle Mate, so we know what those fans can do. Hopefully they can help push them to the very top of their game. Really excited to see what this duo can do, though. They placed pretty well in the Divisional Cups. They got third in that first week, but they were crucially uncontested during those two Divisional Cups that they made. Today, though, you mentioned it, contested to the south of Frigid Fortress. My mind thinks back to yesterday when Mr. Savage was contested there as well. Had a little bit of trouble getting to those end games, so needed to make the most of them, but couldn't. So I think the key point for these guys right now is maybe they won't make too many of those end games just because of how the off-spawn works. So they're going to need to make the most of them when they do and try and go for those wins. If they can, that's how I think they're going to see their qualification come through.
Well, guys, it is time for game number 1. So let's on over and head over to 11-2K and Taco to get game number 1 underway.
This weekend just keeps delivering with all of the Heat's action, and now with the game day on the line, last chance qualifier looking to be avoided by every single one of our competitors here today, Levin, but they've had 2 other play days to kind of witness and get a good gauge on what they might be able to anticipate heading into today's matches.
Yeah, I think Heat 1 and 2 taught us a lot. It taught us that there truly is a new era of EU Fortnite upon us, and at the end of the day, if you're one of the teams in this lobby, you want to make sure you are part of this next generation. You want to be part of this exciting future we have, and not the old guard that seems to be getting booted out the back door. Again, 5 games today to showcase that you are worthy of being in that final. And so let's not waste any more time. Let's hop into game number 1 of Heat 3. Off-spawn trials and tribulations have been a thorn in so many different players' sides over the course of the first 2 heats. And I don't doubt that that will be the story of Heat 3 as well. You can already see in the background some gliders quickly going towards an uncontested Squibbly. We weren't quite expecting, so at least I wasn't quite expecting this. Fredoxy and Sanguild will be very satisfied with this outcome. Of course, they would have watched one of their bigger rivals, Tayson and Ghost, struggling here yesterday, and they get it uncontested for now.
Temporarily, but you never know if somebody might decide to be a little bit intrusive to their position. Either way, they'll still have the opportunity to try and farm things up as best as possible. Deus and Darm, on the other hand, over by Dark Dominion, they've got their work cut out for them because they are another one of our duos that are anticipating a little bit of off-spawn rivalry here. He's in control currently of the building, so they'll be able to at least bring their shields up to a healthy amount. It's really just challenging the tunnels. That's where things can get a little bit more risky. You never know when teams are going to be camping down at the bottom.
Yeah, you know, one of the keys to off spawns a lot of the time is about being able to control as much of the POI as possible, right? You're trying to cut off loot. Here at Dark Dominion, when you have the sort of, you know, overground element and underground element, it can be a bit more difficult to do that. And so, see how they're fair there. Zarb, oh wow. Bit of aim training to start this heat, not too shabby.
Fincheck was definitely feeling some type of ways on socials earlier today, so I'll be interested to see just how much of that confidence rolls over, especially off momentum picks like that. But Bevies, Strokey, they're just trying to find their own groove here today. Got Wavy on the ropes right now. A little bit of a cutoff choke point here. Bolt is going to continue to wrap around, and with this 2 versus 1 scenario, it's very easy for them to just continuously assault the same wall so aggressively. Wavy still trying to see if he can escape. Shots just not going to connect where they need to, though. And for Strokey, Bevies, they're going to have to continue giving chase here because Wavy has temporarily made it out of the vicinity.
Yeah, I don't think they'll let him go that easily, though. At least it wouldn't make too much sense to see both of them quite low on materials, and so they won't overzealously run at him and throw the game completely. But Wavy's not in the strongest position themselves, and so they'll continue to hide on out. And maybe that will be the right play to go about things. The Strokey and Bevies will be satisfied with the damage they have as far as early surge goes. What do we have over here?
Whew. Slonsky not going to be able to escape from Tozio. Overdrive grenades can only take you so far, but does seem like Vexy will at least be able to play supportive measures here. So the revive is a success. A little bit of third-party influence taking place there as well. Saw Moneymaker kind of off in the distance, and keep in mind, Moneymaker, F9, Wavy, Josh, Ajax, and Uzi just all triple contesting each other around this mid-center map position, just a little bit east of Dark Dominion, and that's a relatively rough position to be in for every single one of those trios, Levin.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Again, we know why people want to fight for priority in mid-map. But ultimately, at a certain point, you got to fight for your sanity. Alcon and Noah, this was a team I was expecting to contest Squibbly Shores, and so although Fredoxy and Sanguild will be happy and busy playing, they'll be very happy to see Noah and Alcon finding success here in this fight in the tunnel, because if they continue to be successful, there's no reason for them to want to go back to Squibbly Shores. And Slosky and Vexy, unfortunately, going to be the receiving end of their pain. Darm and Demush might just get involved as well. They've heard all the ruckus and they want to know what it's all about.
It makes perfect sense too, given just how close to Dark Dominion these actual corridors are. So for Demush and Darm, just a little bit too late to the party, so they're not going to be able to pick anything up just yet in terms of tags or eliminations, but at the same time, they can still definitely linger deep north, though, of the map. We've got Flixy and Chap, definitely one of our leading duos in terms of namesake power, and Levin, the desk kind of touched on it, but throughout the offseason, the results not necessarily pandering out to the direction of what you would anticipate for that team, but hold that thought though. Zangi, Belusi getting a little bit active right now. They're finding a nice elimination onto Eddie, still playing inside the storm themselves, but that is going to buy them a little bit more time to kind of idle around for some loot.
Minori and Darkos here in the storm. Always going to see a bit of storm fighting again. We've seen it already in the first 2 heats a fair amount. I'm sure we'll see these two teams going back and forth throughout the day. Right now it looks like Darkos potentially getting the better of it, getting a couple tags, taking shots in the back.
just waiting to see really which teams are going to be dealing with those threats of the surge ticks later on. We saw how prevalent of an issue it was even for some of the more experienced players in both the lobbies, Heats 1 and Heats 2. Obviously, it's bound to be a problem yet again for some teams here today, but Sky Scroll hoping to avoid all of that.
Yeah, and the analyst talked about how Sky and Scroll, it feels like nothing changes for these guys. They're just doing the same things over and over. And if you told me this was a game from last season, Chapter 7 Season 1, I'd believe you, right? The setup looks very similar. You see Sky based up on that hill, Scroll in the POI, farming and collecting heals for the team. And funnily enough, Hydro sat in a spot that we typically see him in as well when he's in the same tournament as these guys. So again, familiar setup. Hopefully for them, a familiar result in this game. Going right till the end, Chino and Pablo will be looking for the same. Dominating Sandy for much of this year.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I can't fault the mentality there between some of these teams. And for Chino and Pablo, I mean, you already kind of hit the mark with it. No one's really interested in contesting them. Teams that have tried to contest them in the past, not necessarily voted the best results. And so it is impressive to think that they've been able to kind of hold on to their namesake like that.
Yeah, what I really liked about them is that in Season 1, they were allowing other teams to sort of contest it, right? And they were sort of splitting it at times. And they came through this season and said, nah, we're not doing that no more. We want the POI. If you want to land here with us, we will fight you. And I think the right decision for most teams to avoid that fight. Chino and Pablo, both unbelievable players when it comes to showing off their mechanics and fighting. The two best fighting players a lot of the time last year alongside Fredoxy and Trios. And they showcased that on the global stage, which is it's no bigger stage than that one in Fortnite.
A lot of company, though, right now surrounding Dark Dominion, Deus and Darm. They might just have their pick of the litter, practically playing out of their own backyard here, and knowing that they didn't have to initially go for any sort of immediate fights off spawn. Just a little bit more of like a loot split, but having the bulk, the control of the POI like we marked earlier, still waiting to see just how exactly they intend on cutting off some of these teams that are looking to kind of rotate through their current position. Asa and Podesai might be a little bit more direct, depends on how they actually choose to play through those tunnels whenever they actually come for the surfacing, but other teams kind of facing up around those exit points is likely going to stay in the back of their minds. Tripper and Hellfire certainly looking like one of those duos.
Yeah, it was an interesting position there for Darm and Deemish. I think it's going to sort of work out for them, but you know, you could see they sort of wanted to move somewhere where they could maybe refarm and get their brick up. Their metal was almost capped, but when you're mid-map like that, again, there's so many teams in that area. You know, you really don't want to risk taking damage, so they'll have to be cautious. Over here at Humble, a bit more freedom to move if need be for Nebs and Nathan. We wondered whether or not they'd be able to handle the off-spawn situation here at Humble, and although we didn't quite see how it unfolded to start the game, both players being up and healthy without any eliminations hopefully means something was worked out there.
Ideally, it'll mean they were still able to find their surge somewhere. I mean, with the surge base as tall as this one, you can anticipate that they're likely able to connect a handful of tags, but low foot traffic does make things a little bit more complicated heading into the mid-game. Robab and X-Force, they've also chosen to lock down a little bit of position here, but it's time to move. They want to beat the rest of the pack. They don't want to get trapped into any sort of congestion. If they can take over Hill Face, that'll probably be their best bets for a slightly elevated position. Have drawn a little bit of lobby focus, though, largely just shots from Moneymaker and F9, but won't deter them too heavily. I mean, 2 pizzas, 4 overdrive grenades, X-Force also rocking a pizza, so they've got 3 pizzas to split, just in case things start to get a little bit sticky here, and don't think that they're feeling all that pressed for time.
Yeah, they've put themselves in a good spot here, right? If they've done a bit of damage early on, again, they'll be in a good spot as far as being able to sort of get ahead if someone continues to pull towards the south. And again, as we get into these sort of 5th, 6th, 7th zones, it really becomes about trying to limit as much damage as possible. while keeping your materials up.
Hydro really holding on, though, to one of the more star power items throughout this current meta. Those Flowberry Mist Grenades just making the height takes or retakes a huge possibility. Obviously, you want to hope to not expend those on your rotates because we've seen just how quickly shields can be dwindled.
This is a team I'm interested to follow today. Lucia and Howley, two players with, again, a lot of experience in EU, a lot of experience playing in this type of heat format where you have to win to get in. And Lucia especially is someone who, in the past, you know, I've always felt almost comfortable predicting to win games in heats, right? Howley, I remember back when he played with Eltenzi a couple chapters ago as well, he sort of surprised people as being a player who could, you know, shock people in heats. And so we'll see whether that experience can shine through. Experience has been the conversation in EU when it comes to the heats, right? A lot of our experienced names of the past struggling to get past some of these newer, hungry duos.
Stan, definitely hungry for some damage right now. Kurama going to be on the receiving end of some tags, but 157 below. Still a decent ways to go. And we know that with Net Surge, things can change at a moment's notice, but for Six and Stan, this is still a rather complicated position to be in. They've at least got slight leverage just being in an elevated position, and we can see some of these duos from that north side trickling into zone, but everyone doing a great job at just keeping themselves tarped off. They're not really providing much opportunity, and the longer that you stay having a peek, the more susceptible you are to return damage, as well as those surge ticks kind of bearing away at their HP bar. Stan and Six losing one of their Flowberry Mist Grenades already, still 48 below. Only need a handful more shots to connect, but the openings are just so slim. The opportunities, not many.
Yeah, the difficulty of the spot they're in is obviously not wanting to waste the positioning. If you can skate by on this surge and out-heal while other players tick down, you can use the elevation you have to get some damage, but when you leave yourself exposed like that, to try and get damage, you also leave yourself susceptible to taking it as well, and that is what happens here for Stan. Axe Force gonna continue knocking at the door, and they'll know how much pressure Stan is on, so they'll just play the waiting game if needed. They can take their time with this one.
We knew that they wanted that positioning earlier on. They made the right choice, though. They already got what they were primarily after, and now Stan, out of desperation, gonna try to make a play, but that's just gonna be another easy cleanup here. A whole refresh to practically 5-5-5 now for Axe Force, and Robob just continue wrapping around the hillside, getting to preserve so much more of their material in comparison to some of these other teams. Tripper and Hellfire still trying to make it through. Marco on his last legs, and that's just not gonna be enough. These last minutes, last couple of seconds, really. Howley still trying to break into the edge of zone, but the later you are, the easier it is for teams that are already based up to take advantage of your position.
Yeah, there's been probably no better game throughout the heats for an A-class lesson on zone priority, right? A lot of these teams who have just been stuck behind other groups of teams are just getting absolutely rinsed right now. And again, if you find yourself having to wait for a team in front of you to rotate, it feels like you're just leaving your game in their hands. And unfortunately for Chap and Flixy here, that might just be their story. We've seen great clutches from solos throughout the heat stage, but it doesn't look like Chap is going to be giving us one here in game one. Not much to work with at all now, and only a matter of moments away probably from being taken out of this game completely.
Chap is an incredibly competent fragger, but unfortunately, all the odds just stacked against them. The silver lining is that this is a rather south pulling zone, and in comparison to where they're originally starting off at, it's difficult to go cross country around the map like that, right? So first game struggles, nothing to get too pressed over just yet, but sizing back into where Sky and Scroll are at, Battlewood Boulevard. I know one thing that gave Sky and Scroll a little bit of woes during the Divisional Cups was getting practice when zones were actually pooling to them and maintaining their surge, and they've done a great job at remedying those issues. 516 above, you can see. And they have just managed to just maintain such a stronghold position, preventing other teams from being able to rotate through them.
Yeah, I've been able to spend a lot of the time just picking up players, running towards them, right? And I've seen the effects of that. Deus and Darm, what happened here? HP looking low. All right, Fanayan, probably not his greatest moment there. But you'll take that if you're Deus and Darm.
Absolutely no complaints for the Poles by any means. Gentle mates, though, gonna need to make some noise here for Akira and Kurama. They are certainly struggling. No way to replenish their shields. Just gotta keep moving forward. Fortunately, they won't have to deal with the surge ticks any longer, but time is still of the essence here. They are going to need a refresh, and a lone moneymaker might potentially deliver it, because the desperation is going to kick in one more time. Kurama have an idea that might have caught a glimpse of where Moneymaker was, or at least knew that there was that one solo straying by, but they might have just missed it by a mere second. So Moneymaker will be able to evade Frenchies for right now, but they're still going to continue wrapping up over this hillside, trying to keep out of sight, out of mind, but Kurama and Akira are having a really difficult time here finding those additional tags.
Yeah, again, we know how talented these two players are, but at the end of the day, when you're working with sticks and stones, it can be difficult to find a footing. And again, it just tells you the difficulties of trying to find Surge in this lobby. We saw so much congestion towards the center. And it maybe took these guys just a bit too long to get involved in all of that madness, and now they find themselves behind. Kurama with just the one build won't be able to stay in it. And he's not the only big name team struggling to stay in the game. Darm in the box gets caught out. You don't see him losing many fights like that, but it goes to show, Taco, just how intense these games are right now.
Just caught a bit off guard there. By the way, Fortnite and Asa just aggressively challenged them inside their box, but happens to the best at times. Pablo and Chino, excellent job. Eagle Eye view currently, even though they're not on total height, they have still managed to make their way through on the secondary height, and wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe even take a stab for overthrowing Sky and Scroll. But with all these teams kind of just catapulting themselves forward, connecting to the other end of that hill, just across. X-Force, Robot, outside of zone, likely going to elevate just a bit here. And making it over the hill is a huge deal, because so many teams are just going to get caught in the congestion underneath it.
Yeah, but they're going to have to start putting in work with their shotguns, right? Because Axos and Robin running very low when it comes to materials. And so you see them box up, make the 2x2. They were looking for a fighting potential. But with the zone actively moving away, they're going to have to do it on the next moving zone. Sangeld and Fredoxy potentially looking to make a play here. Will they look for height? Right now, it's just moving towards the front of the zone. Roban just trying to stay alive in the game right now. His shields are depleted. Fredoxy jumping in boxes. That's not where you want to see Fred right now, and it's going to be his former duo taking him down. Chino, Pablo still alive now, and the fight for height continues. It's getting hectic up there with Hydro and Kaito.
Hey, Hydro and Kaito have done it, at least for right now, though. They're going to try to lay down a little bit of suppressive fire, but the material count not high enough to maintain this. Granted, that's only if somebody else decides to intervene. Sky and Scroll still technically playing through that secondary height layer, but for Keto and Hydro, they just want to look to control this for as long as possible. One overdrive grenade remains here for Keto, so they do have a way down, a little bit of an exit strategy should things go sour. But Sky, Scroll taking their time, trying to see if they can just eliminate teams in the layers underneath them. Andang going to send himself flying forward a little bit too far past front side of zone, but Chino has finally fallen. A lot is at stake here for this first lobby win. Sky Scroll incredibly low now, though. Sky is largely going to have to take over the aggressive frontier. Ultimate low front side is in his control, but he's got to look back. Only one build remains. He has to connect with a big shot here if he wants to keep this lifeline going.
and maybe just needs to play the waiting game. Teams are falling, placement points are racking up. He has the med kit to play, and I think he will just play it as he stays in the storm, tracking the players around him, though. The fight for height does continue. It's going to be Zangi and Belusi that take it out of the hands of Haijo and Kaito. They now hold the keys to winning this game, and Sky down below won't just hide it out. He'll fight it out. He jumps forward, and he's now has control of the front side of the zone, gonna try and control the bottom layers with the few material he has. Everybody's pulling out everything they can now to try and win this game.
But don't lose sight of where Nebs and Nathan are at. Still playing that ultimate low, but they've taken over the front side at least. Zangi gonna start to drop. Sky now looking for the challenge, but he falls. And Zangi gonna meet a similar fate. It is all down to Nathan and Nebs. 1 versus 2 scenario up against the likes of Bevies. Going for the chop out. UK Nation about to get real loud for you here, Levin. Bevies just doesn't have the HP to max it out, and Nebs will pull it off. Victory Royale for Britannia and its finest moments here in Heat 3.
I've said it many times before, and I'll say it again. UK on top. Nebs and Nathan representing. Never doubted it for the boys. I'm loving what I'm seeing at a Heat 3 right now. Nebs and Nathan secure their spot. Frankie, break it down for us.
I mean, I'm just on cloud 9 alongside Levin now, because what a performance from Nathan and Nebs. There was so much chaos on the high ground mini minor, and it feels like Nathan and Nebs just managed to stay patient in the lower layers.
Yeah, as a fellow UK representative, I'm also very, very excited about this. It's nice to see the UK lads popping off and doing so really nicely as well. You mentioned it right there. High ground was a bit of a mess. We saw so many of our teams trying to go for it. I'm sure we'll see it in just a bit after the break of just so many of our teams just trying to go for it and then overtaking the other person. But these guys stayed very, very calm and patient down on low ground. I think you could say they got quite fortunate with the zone where it ended up pulling compared to where they dropped, but they won't care in the slightest, Staccato. They are in the Major 1 finals.
That they are. They had, in terms of this season, actually quite good Divs performances, 8th, 9th in the Div Cup. So leading up to this heat, they actually were looking quite strong, and ending up with that win in the final moments is what you love to see. I like that it wasn't a pure high ground win as well. You can see the chemistries there, the synergy, the experience being shown for a duo that has been in EU competitive for so long. And the smile on Levin's face, I know when they were in the 1v2 at the end, I could feel it without even seeing it. Good amount of eliminations. It's what you love to see.
Yeah, these guys have been playing together for a good while now as well. They've sort of known each other. They've gone through thick and thin. And they're a team very much like Sky and Squall that just do know how each other play. And I was actually speaking to Spenaldo for those of the EU enjoyers. And he was saying, look out for this team this season. Nebs and Nathan, they are popping off right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make grand finals. So would you look at that? He was right.
Do you think that they got fortunate with that zone pull down the hill because they weren't having to build their way down? They were already there and just kind of ready to catch their enemies as they came down.
Yeah, the thing is, there was multiple zone pulls before that as well, right? The main thing about Fortnite is being able to kind of minimize the factors you can't control, right? So if it pulls very far, you got to be ready for it. If it pulls back, you got to make use of that fortunate zone you got and maximize conserving mats and everything else that comes along with it.
Well, we've got plenty more Fortnite to discuss after this short break, so we'll see you in a few.
It's just a war cry by. This is my world. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
Nathan and Nebs doing the UK proud before the break, winning game number 1. Getting a victory royale in the major heats means that you get not a free pass, a hard-fought pass to the grand final. So we'll see them next weekend. And yes, King Charles, the letter is in the post from him. So boys, expect that one shortly. Now let's talk about our other duos in the lobby. Sky and Scroll, we were looking to them to win this first game, really. And actually, in the mid-game, it was looking pretty likely to Carter because it seemed like they had the perfect end-game loadout.
Yeah, I mean, that's highly due as well. Not just them being one of the best teams in the region currently, even the world, but the zone. I mean, they drop at Battlewood Boulevard, kind of that northeast side, and you can even see it on the mini-map there in these final zones. So they got some of the best zone pulls they could have gotten leading into this late game. They had the perfect loadout, mobility, heals, best weapons they could have. I thought they were going to win it, but either way, an incredible performance from this team.
Yeah, and they're playing these mid-ground layers really, really well. I know we broke down them playing height at the beginning of the day, but from historically what I think about when you think about Sky and Scroll are playing these sort of layers really, really effectively, staying hip to hip and doing what they do best, which is exactly what we're seeing on the screen right now. Of course, couldn't quite make it happen all the way to the end, but realistically, there's a top 4 for them, really not too bad at all. I'm sure they'll be really happy with it. Of course, they made the most of that game. I suppose not quite the most because they could have won, but they made as much of it as they could with that zone being so favorable. So when the zone does pull to you, that's exactly what you want to do, and that's why they're 4th.
Minnie, do you think that the lobby is very conscious of Sky and Scroll and their wing condition? Because the high ground was so chaotic, and I was just wondering if part of the reason that so many duos were taking risks was because if they let Sky and Scroll have it for free, then that's a guaranteed victory royale not going in their favour.
Yeah, I suppose you always have to be wary of height, right? You know, there's a lot of great teams in this lobby, a lot of teams that can play height. So, you know, if there's an opportunity to take it in endgame and you have the materials, you have the resources to do so, then why not? I mean, we saw Haijo going for an amazing height take and an amazing play, sort of soaring through the air, which I loved in the back. But yeah, if there's an opportunity to take it, you might as well, because in this sort of format, you never know if you're going to get another chance.
True. And Pablo and Chino, they were another duo that was definitely trying to challenge for height, especially when Haijo and Kaito seem to be taking over. This is a great start for this team, though, and we're expecting them to at least qualify on consistency, Takata.
Yeah, the thing is, if you look in terms of current top EU duos on the region, they're up there, but they're not really top 5, top 3, despite the expectations being incredibly high coming from trios. Obviously, we're in a different mode now, duos, and they are performing great, especially after the start of this. You can see even eliminating, former trio Fredoxy and Sangild. But what's even more interesting to me as well is Pablo actually having more eliminations than Chino. We know he's kind of that hybrid IGL fragger, so I'm not worried about this duo. I do think we will see them qualify.
I thought it would have been a really nice story. They got that mythic combat off of Fredoxy, who gets that at his drop spots. Just like, oh, let me gift you this mythic combat to then go on and win the game. You guys go, you take it now. And they didn't. So unfortunate for them, but I'm sure we'll see them more in the next one.
You know what, I confess, I actually thought that we saw them in the height chaos. Obviously, they were eliminated on the low ground. It was Fredoxy, who's I think Sangild actually was the one who was eliminated up top in the chaos. But let's take a look at the leaderboard so we can see how Game 1 has affected the standings. Because there's one duo in particular I think really came out straight out the gate and probably surprised quite a lot of their competitors. Belushi and Zangi, a whopping 12 eliminations and making it to the end game, Mini Minor.
Yeah, really nicely done from these guys. Of course, we've seen these guys around the block in EU, never really reached the highs of the highs, but this is a duo that we have seen in EU for some time, the Italians themselves. And fun fact, I actually played a third-party tournament. Shout out to Mike TV, who I'm sure will be doing a viewing party of this. I played his tournament with Zangi, and we were the height kings of the lobby. We were always playing height. We were non-stop on height. Unfortunately, Belushi was doing his best Miniminer impression, which is going down on height and not winning the game. So very similar to that, but what I know about Zangi is he knows how to play these end games so well, knows how to play these lobbies. He's been around the block.
He just needed you on his team.
Yeah, we could say that. Maybe.
We've got a little bit of time before we head into Game 2. Should we talk about the drop spot situation? Because there are actually some unexpected moments. Fredoxy was unconned, Mini Minor.
Yeah, really surprising right there. I mean, we spoke about it in length at the beginning of the show, how great he is off spawn, how promising he looks when there are off spawn fights, but didn't have that. So that changes their entire dynamic. And I think luckily for them, the team that was supposed to be contesting to Carter actually did pretty well off spawn and survived that off spawn. So they're likely to keep doing it.
Yeah, I believe they went to Dark Dominion, actually, where Deus and Darm are landing. But the thing is, the team that was contesting Deus and Darm said, okay, I'm actually also going to go somewhere else. And I believe that was Ripped Tide. So we had a whole sort of movement going around the map. We might need Kelly here with her little sticky note thing to explain it, but it's looking kind of complicated.
Yeah, Noah and Alcon, they definitely seem satisfied fighting and trying to take Dark Dominion from Deus and Darm. But then we also saw Luwavy heading over. I think it was over to Fredoxy's drop spot and instantly lost his duo partner. So I wonder if we're going to see a switcheroo going into the next game. Mini Miner, now that our duos have had time to warm up, are we expecting now to see one of the typical names we expect to take a victory royale actually get it done? For example, Sky and Scroll.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. I'm sure Sky and Squirrel will be happy with that first game performance. A team that I was a little bit surprised at not doing so well was Chap and Flixy. Will they recover? I hope so.
I hope so too. Let's head into game 2.
Plenty of opportunity for teams to still look to correct any sort of misslips or hiccups that didn't pan out in their favor for game 1 here, Levin. And not only that, but with Nebs and Nathan departure from the lobby, that means Humble Hills technically uncontested now for the other duos that might decide to, drop their name in the hat, see if they can have the same kind of success.
Yeah, well, we know there was another team that wanted to go there, right? I think it was Peaks. He was looking to potentially contest them there. We weren't sure where they actually ended up landing, so maybe we will see them over at the Humble Hills. I'm sure Nebs and Nathan won't be too humble after taking that first game. They'll get to sit back and watch and enjoy the rest of their action. We have 4 amazing more games coming up for you guys. I'm very excited though, because we obviously saw so many top teams, struggle to make their way through and have clean games in that game. And I think that, again, has been the story of EU. So we'll see if that continues to be the case. Well, look, we ain't gonna wait much longer. We can get right into game number 2 right now. All right, let's see how this one plays out. I believe I just saw Noah's name drop down below there. So already we might be seeing even more switch ups here in game number 2. Again, this heat has sort of been the heat of surprises when it comes to some of the off-spawn dynamics. We'll see if there are many changes as we head through here. Money making for Nyan. We know there's a bunch of teams who want to land in this area. Money making for Nyan will have a tough task to keep them all away. Or maybe not. Maybe they'll be all right here in the initial moments of the game.
I think that when you look at starting things off on a triple contested area and then you realize that there is an opportunity to kind of extend elsewhere, it's better to just hedge your bets on those openings. See if they might fare a little bit better in everybody's favor. But Darm, Deemish, still hanging about Dark Dominion, still largely uncontested. It does appear as though they are just going to have total control of this POI here in game 2.
Yeah, again, a lot of players in that first game, the mid-map messiness, we'll call it, was definitely rough. And I think a lot of the players probably don't want to deal with that again. Understandably, I wouldn't either. And so I'm sure a couple people hit the replays and said, hold on a minute, guys. There's nobody landing over here. Why don't we just land over here? And that's how you end up in situations like this one. So we'll keep track of who's moving here and there and who it actually seems to benefit, right? We obviously saw Darm and Deemish not quite have the game one they would have wanted to. And so maybe being uncontested off spawn will give them a bit more breathing room to play their game out at a pace and a tempo that they're comfortable with.
Can always depend on their coach Sven too, to kind of play a big part in that. I know a lot of helping hands can always help figure things out along the way, but Firen, he's got to figure out how he can play for this reboot here. Noah and Alcon, outskirts of Squibbly Shores, but a lot of rumbling taking place near the lighthouse. It seems like they want to have full control of this landmark, and Firen, he's going to be forced to pull back for the time being. I mean, you can't really afford to try and challenge that as a solo.
Nice shots there. Just flying through the bunny hops. Look, we were expecting to see them in that area of the map. So again, they've gone back to what we were initially expecting after somewhat successful game. Oh.
Sheesh.
Wowza.
That hurts. given their first lobby performance, and they're gonna have to really depend on those numbers to hold up strong now. Missing out entirely on game 2 here, but a lot of action, that's for sure. Not necessarily taking place where we would have expected it to, but that's kind of the nature of the Heat's tourney so far this weekend, Levin. It just seems like you can't really ever anticipate how the lobby is actually going to develop over time.
Definitely not. You got to get a feel for things, and even when you feel like you have a grasp on it, things do change, as we're seeing here in this second game. This is something we've seen a lot of, especially here. I feel like we always see teams make this play, this exact vending machine, and so we'll see how ready Andon and Spleeze are for it. Riptide's just something about it, I guess, that has the lurkers ready to go. Ooh, they're gonna get spotted. they've been spotted. It won't be happening here.
Too many teams, I think, just have so much experience now. Even if you aren't playing it and experiencing it directly, you can just see it in so many VOD replays. I mean, I always think about Thomas and Focus, for example. They had a lot of issues with trying to maintain control of those, but drawing elsewhere on the map. Asa down for the count here. Zengi and Belusi, they want to keep their momentum going after that match 1 performance, and does start things off. Finding clean elimination here onto Asa. Just gonna allow them to take a little bit more space for themselves and send Podesai packing, but even still, the Italians just kind of waiting things out now. I mean, that's a big net surge promise for them to move forward.
Chap and Flixy. Big expectations, and rightfully so. 2 massive names in EU who will have to start to make their mark on the lobby if they want to guarantee themselves a chance to play in next weekend's finals. Kurama and Akira, almost a Kurama and Werex, old habits kicking in. Look, these two didn't quite have the best game 1. We saw them struggling for Surge, and now this early damage here from Akira is going to do wonders for keeping them above. As long as he can continue to keep this ratio how it's looking, they've dealt a bunch of damage without taking any. Both proficient fighters, both players who know how to quick end fights. But Axforce and Roban, 2 experienced players themselves who will try and stall this one out as they regain their bearings. And yeah, that's going to force Akira and Kurama to just take a step back. These guys are going to build. We don't want to prolong this anymore, especially when we've gotten good damage out of it.
This is a pretty rapid adjustment from Akira and Kurama to challenge Latte landing so soon. They saw Robob and X-Force have this legendary POI all to themselves and decided that they wanted to see what else they could intercept here. Surge base lurked upon though, sure for repairs, sneaking up on Wax and not going to net anything just yet for it. Have given away their position, so the element of surprise no longer coming into effect here. But Sure 4 repairs certainly seeming much more stable in terms of loadouts for a fight, and they have full control of the vending machines underneath right now. So for Skylight and Batia, they're gonna have to reconsider how they actually want to proceed.
Hey, Forza Italia. A surprise Game 1 duo who made waves with plenty of elims. But can they continue to do that? I think Miniminer certainly thinks so after playing alongside Zangi, so
I feel like how Mini included that we. You know, like we. Like who's we, Mini? That's
But Mini's decent, man. Don't doubt Mini's in-game ability. I played with him for a year. He knows how to move.
Nah, you just always gotta, you know, appreciate Mini and his antics, but drawing things, yeah, this is awkward now for sure.
Turntables.
Do you expect them to still want to go up and challenge this, though, for Akira and Kurama against Robob and X-Force?
I think at this point now you want to just get in the zone, yeah. Again, they've done so much hard work to actually get like good damage out of these guys. And the problem is they've had to invest a lot of materials to keep things that way. And when you look at the minimap at the bottom, it's sort of triangled in by 3 different teams. And so, yeah, it's not just Robin and Axforce they got to worry about. Podesai is not too far away either. And these guys have invested a lot of resources into staying alive. Mumsy and Skyjump. Things not looking as difficult for them at the moment. And they'll quickly look to rotate and move position. Not without taking a bit of damage, though. Worried about a play in that bush, understandably.
For me, this is a duo that's really just been working on building up their rep during the offseason. I think that their Divisional Cup Finals performances, while it could be a little bit hit or miss, they did have a pretty strong placement during one of those finals. I believe it was a 6 at one point. And so I do think that they are making positive steps forward, kind of solidifying themselves as a duo that is more capable of finding those consistency metrics.
Well, yeah, I feel we have a lot of players in this heat in particular who, you know, again, are familiar names in EU, but not necessarily for being the top dogs or the lobby bosses, right? You just have solid grand players who make it there more seasons than not. Haijo and Kaito, I think you'd have to include in there, right? I remember back to some of their off-spawn battles in duos, sort of south of Redline Rig a couple chapters ago, right? And so you have players who, again, are familiar with the biggest stages of EU competitive. But it's all about taking that next step, right? We've seen certain players look like they're going to take that next step. I think you'd have to include Akira and Kurama as names in that category. But so far today, things looking uncomfortable. Kurama's down, and Akira with just 60 HP, 9 builds, and a single mini shield. He's going to have to try cook something up.
Pretty much had to force that engagement against Robot and Axforce to actually have a conclusion a lot sooner than what it did. The way that it was drawn out, like you already pointed out, just left them so low on material. And now, as they were leaving the area trying to just make it into zone, they're just constantly running across other duos that were already just a little bit earlier to the punch, and Hellfire Tripper, and no problems whatsoever, kind of just holding this supply drop hostage, essentially. You could tell Akira would, in his position, obviously like to go for it, but I just don't see a realistic opportunity for that to come into play. Tripper and Hellfire, and they might even choose to scout this out a little bit further. If they knew the exact situation of just how desperate Akira's HP and loadout is, they'd probably be more willing to try and force an offensive measure here, but either way, they're still content to just hold things out.
Geras and Sinner, the team that I think definitely fits the criteria of what I was describing before, right? Again, experienced EU finals players. Moneymaker for Nyan, again, in that category. Axforce and Roban, another one of those teams where they've played in so many finals. Getting through this heat stage is something that they'll be familiar with, but when you have so many teams that fall into that category, one slip up and you can be out of the running.
They're looking very strong right now, though. Handful of Flowberry Mist Grenades, Overdrive Grenades, maxed out, Chug Jugs, max splashes. F9 also desperately trying to fly into the box and nearly gets the better end of Axforce, but isn't able to find the shots that he needs. Will still draw his shields incredibly low, and that will force Zengi and Belusi's hand. They want to try and apply some third-party tags in to that fight that just took place, but Axforce, one more time, more than enough loot to replenish those shields. And a little bit more surge damage to the tally. Zengi and Belusi, though, are doing an excellent job at staying above the rest, 594 even, and just holding this edge of zone nicely, just really keeping tabs on the outskirts. They're going to be able to really shut down anyone that's looking to rotate from that east side of zone.
Yeah, great position for these guys. Again, looking at the setup, this could potentially be another really solid game, and the kind of game that actually just secures them a spot. on consistency, right? We've been sort of looking and teetering around that 135 point mark on average across the different heats as a sort of safety point for being able to qualify. They can have another game like their first. They'll be well on their way to being comfortable.
There has been like one team per heat so far that's usually just very well nestled in with the consistency after just one or two strong matches. So that could be a very realistic opportunity for them. But for Skyjump and Momsy, they are just having to use up every single one of their heals now. A little bit desperate, having to force this fight against Ark and Marco, and they need to come out on top. And that Surge, just so close, but so far within their reach. And Marco, Ark, they're just willing to stand back.
Yeah, and it's just never a great spot to be fighting from when you're trying to fight 1 or 2 tiles away. You see Mumsy falls, Skyjump will follow, forced into desperation. Again, can't control the temple, can't control the space, not much space to work from. Look at the boxes their loot's in, right? They were cramped in here. And ultimately, that's what happens when you leave it a little too late.
You are seeing some of these teams just kind of getting forced to make a play as these Surge ticks batter away at some of these HP bars. But Chap, Flixy, I know in the last match they had to do quite the trek to make it towards zone, and that definitely left them worse for wear. But now, sitting a bit comfortable, 247 above. And what do you think it is that this duo has to overcome here today to find themselves in the Major 1 finals?
I think one of the big things for these guys is when it comes to their end games. The end games just aren't as clean as you want to see from 2 players of their caliber. That comes down to, again, making sure they actually are going into end games with enough loot, ready to play for height if they want to play for height, and be able to actually hold on to it.
Impressed with the fact that King has managed to avoid so much of the lobby focus, but it was only temporary. This is a very difficult way to rotate.
But this is the problem as well, right? When you're going to use the fist like that, this is just, you know, basic Fortnite. The first guy is always going to get away with the rotate, right? It's always the second player that has to worry, and so you can't just follow the rotation 1 for 1. It's never going to work.
Especially not when you're running smack dab into where Pablo and Chino of all teams are at, but they'll continue to just keep their pacing ahead of the rest of the lobby here. Chap, Flixy also looking to be right alongside in tow, a little bit further north from them, but for Pablo and Chino, it's all about maintaining that front side. A look back to where things might have gone right or wrong, and it does appear as though King was able to get an assist there to bring down Jaski.
I like that, the surprise element. Is it a good replay or a bad replay? Find out. The next game of FNCS.
Buys them a little bit of time at least.
Yeah, no, it's, look, you know, I'm sure it's a fun game for people to play along at home. For Hydro and Kaito, I do worry about what this endgame looks like for them. Again, good on Surge, but we know these guys like to play for height. The materials aren't looking too strong though. Darm and Debush looking a lot stronger than what we saw from them last game, at least after picking that refresh up. The elevation that is being played and toyed with here is going to be super fun. Sky and Stroll smack bang in the middle of things, and that doesn't surprise me too much. We'll see where they stack up as the lobby continues to get smaller and smaller.
Well, for Zangi, he's had quite a run of it so far already. 1,002 above damage threshold, 3 eliminations as well. Haste and Pengi currently holding down the bulk of high ground, but could just be a temporary feature. We know just how rapidly I can switch up here in these shifting elevation points on the mountains. Fredoxy as a solo, though, will have to get the job done himself. Just how many placement points can he secure? Last time, they just barely made it in. Being included some placement, but Fred certainly knows how to scrap. And he's definitely not one who's going to make it easy for anybody else to, like, a rollover fight by any means. He can definitely still secure some additional points.
Absolutely. And especially with some of the struggles from their opponents who will be contesting them potentially at Squibbly. They need to make these games count. Darm and Demish looking to do just that, make the game count. Quite hectic, but we know they thrive in the chaos. Chap and Flixy, this is going to be a big refresh. This really helps their odds and their chances of being able to actually go forward in this game and potentially win it. Really nice drop-down play there, and that's where you want to see them operate in Taco.
That was just so dastardly, though. Chino just doesn't even have time to react there. But Chap, Flixy, now they've got ultimate height. Just continue to look back. Flixy gonna look to extend things forward.
Free
Doing
height.
a great job. Yeah, just making it very complicated for anybody else to actually try and challenge them, and they are going all the way up. Flixy and Chap just have the perfect overside view of these mountaintops. Fredoxy gonna be forced to use his pizza here, maybe a little bit earlier than what he was hoping for, but he'll still be able to buy some time. Continue letting the lobby thin itself out. Pablo as a solo also looking to see if he can get a piece out of Zarb, rotating across, but just misses out. Got some tags at the very least. A little bit of extra damage, does still have some material to work with, but teams don't want to have to stay committing towards this backside of zone. Fredoxy trying to make his way forward, even gonna steal, and he's dropping all the way. Thanks to that Flowberry Mist Grenade, he was able to lob off, but just taken out the moment that he goes to the layer switch. Unfortunate timing when it happens, just when you least expect it. Pablo still working as a solo, but Lucy and Zangi, though, just continuing their reign right now, taking out so many teams in these middle layers and the lower ground. 4 eliminations. And still moving forward from front side.
Absolutely, they've done a great job to control layers here with the steep drop downs. They need to continue that though. As Zone now continues to pull up, Pablo will fall as a result. But Lucy and Zangi still needing to try and find control as they make their way up. This game has been so easy for Chap and Flixy with how these zones have been pulling. Not easy for Scroll and Sky though. Scroll making it look easy as he jumps into that box. Sky trying to replicate it as well, and he will. The ticks though will be too much for him to handle. Demish will take him out, and everybody down below that hill is struggling now to find a footing. Not if you're Scroll though. He hits a big bang onto Trip and takes him out, and he has to chug jugs to heal now.
That Siphon also gonna allow him to replenish a little bit of that shield too. Straight up with the overdrive grenade. Zarb, Finchek struggling just in front of him, but Scroll, he's gonna be able to steal that away. Siphon materials all going to his favor. Doesn't have the Siphon itself though, not his actual elimination, but Darm, Demish challenging height. Chad, Flixy looking to stay strong. Darm has fallen. Demish still hoping to see if he can pull through, but his vision just so obscured, he'll be forced to drop to ultimate low. Chap and Flixy have held on, and it seems like this game is truly in their grasp. All they have to do is close things out. Podesai, Asa incredibly low, dealing with the likes of Demish underneath them too. Chap, Flixy just continuing to extend from overhead. But the moment that Demish goes up, he's going to be spotted out. Chap and Flixy, everyone was wondering when they were going to bring it home, when we were going to see this duo truly ascend to the performance that we know they are capable of. And Demish on his last legs. It feels like a victory lap at this point for Chap and Flixy, and finally they'll secure the elimination that takes them to the Major 1 Grand Finals.
Perfectly put. These two have showed everybody that they are the real deal. They are ready for whatever you put in front of them next weekend. Chap and Flixy, they do not want to miss out on a chance for the home fans in Dusseldorf to cheer them on. I want to see even more performances like that from them next weekend, which they have secured a spot to after that impressive win. Frankie and the Desk break it all down.
Thank you so much. These guys proving they are a cut above most of the teams in the lobby. Chap and Flixy, they didn't have the best zone in the first game, but they were able to capitalize on that frigid fortress zone, Takata.
Yeah, they did it when it mattered most. As Taco was saying, Flixy, best performance from a German player in 2025. The expectations for this duo were very high, and they weren't quite meeting them in Div Cups. They were doing well, but not meeting those expectations. Now here in FNCS, you said it yourself, Frankie, unlucky first. The zone pulled to the opposite side of the map, but once they got zone, they did not waste any time to capitalize on that. Took out Chino first to get a quick refresh, and to be fair, Mini, they did get good zones when they were holding on to height. All the players down below, it was tough for them.
Yeah, what they did really well was as soon as that 9th zone switched to actually turn for them in terms of their favor, they could actually turn around and then claim all of that space, and they took no time to do that. They just instantly looked at it. And I think there's something that's most important about this season in particular is that you can't just play height and hold it out and then you've got it for the rest of the game. You have to be able to bass away all of the teams that are flying on up, and there's usually about 2 or 3. They did that really well with Belusi and Zangi first, and then it was the big one at the end. The big one after a huge refresh that Darm and Demus got. They had to fend off those guys as well, and of course they did that so well. And that's what you need to do at the moment on height, because you're not going to be able to get it for free, even when the zones are as treacherous as they were.
There's so much confidence on display from this duo. I'm so excited to see them in the Major 1 final next weekend. This does mean that the map is opening up, though, in terms of drop spots. Takata, do you think we're going to see some duos eyeing up the space?
It is an uncontested drop spot that Reason also qualified from yesterday. So we got 2 German players qualifying from this specific drop spot from a win. So who knows? Maybe it's got some magic to it. I definitely think there's going to be a team going there today.
Well, one of the only German words I know is schnell, which means fast. So let's quickly head into a break. Another epic finish here at the Heat 3 Major 1 finals for FNCS, and we've seen Chap and Flixy successfully get their victory royale and therefore their ticket to next weekend's grand finals. But this was another action-packed end game, and we're definitely seeing some of the more experienced names throw their hat into the ring, shall we say, for that victory royale, challenging for the top. Deus and Darm notably improved from game 1 to game 2 to Carter, and we managed to see them make it to the final 2.
Yeah, they woke up. First game might have been a warm-up match. They still got 4 eliminations, top 30, but this is what we expected from a duo of this caliber with the second place finish. You can see too that quick pickup on Sangild, leaving Fredoxy alone, but Deus and Darm, I mean, Mini, this is a powerhouse duo.
Yeah, this is better. This is what we expected. This is what we know from this duo. The way that they're playing these mid-ground layers, the way they're able to full box people just like that, staying so close to one another, just continuing on from what we saw from them in trios with picks. They were just one of those teams that you just know were going to be dangerous in these endgame situations. And when they get themselves there, that's truly where they can find success. And we saw it right there. They went for that high ground take. We saw it from them in the divisional cups as well. They played height really well, but they couldn't quite make it work right here. But that second place is going to do wonders for them on the leaderboard. It's important for them, though, just to make the most of these end games when they can, because, of course, who knows if they're going to keep together.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the most difficult end game zones you could have, too. The change in elevation, everything about it, and they still made it happen. The issue is going to be more off spawn. They are the dominant off spawn duo, but there's a lot of weird things going on at Dark Dominion. New teams coming in, teams moving away, a lot of contestation happening. So hopefully they clean things up in the early game, because if they make it to that end game, they're going to perform.
Takata, the middle of the map, it's a bit like at Heat 2. It's so congested, though.
It is. And things do change up in heats. As a reminder, you know, when you do win that match, you qualify and don't have to play anymore for the rest of the day. So hopefully, you know, things do change up.
Well, it's certainly changing at the edges of the map. We'll see what happens as we drop into game number 3. But first of all, let's talk about Belusi and Zangi, because they definitely surprised us in a pleasant way in game number 1. And they continue that consistency and frags making it to the end game in game number 2 as well, Mini Minor.
Yeah, not quite as good of a performance when it comes down to their overall placement. They had a 10th right here compared to their 3rd in game number 1. But what I really like about these guys from what we're seeing so far is just their confidence, their ability to find these refreshes in the end game, to try and find the perfect moment. And even if it's not the perfect moment, just to go for height anyway. We saw it in this game, I'm pretty sure as well, where they just sort of shockwaved up. Here it is. They use their overdrive grenades and think, yeah, let's just try and fly all the way up. Didn't quite work out in that situation as we saw, but I like the confidence. I respect it.
Yeah, I'm actually most impressed by, even when the zone isn't in their favor, game 1, it was the opposite corner of the map where the zone pulled, and they still got top 3. Zone pulled towards their drop spot. They also performed well, so I'm honestly loving the consistency from this duo.
I'm really enjoying seeing these guys flying around the end game. So hopefully we'll see that work out for them in game number 3 or the other games for the rest of today. Let's talk about Sky and Scroll, though, because we're expecting them to pick up a victory royale at least at some point. They're definitely looking good for consistency right now, because both of these guys have been clutching for each other. Scroll most recently to Carter.
Yeah, in game 1, Sky had the solo clutch. Game 2, Scroll said, it's my turn. And that's what I love about this team. They're both such powerful players. Not only do they have the chemistry, but they also have what it takes to make those solo clutches happen against the best of the best, Mini.
Yeah, and we were sort of talking in the back as well about, do these guys necessarily want to win a game? Is it beneficial for them to do that? And looking at their drop spot, there aren't too many tier 1 teams that are going to be landing at the exact same drop spot that they are. So maybe they are going to be angling more towards a victory if they can today. Either way, they're performing exactly as we expected. They're staying consistent in these end games, and hopefully we see more from them.
So, Minimani, just clarify that for me. So you're saying they're not necessarily looking to win. Do you mean in terms of like taking risks and kind of becoming the targets at the top of the high ground? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Well, teams can try and play for the wins. They can, of course, try and play for consistency as well. And the most important thing, I suppose, for teams, if they do win a game, there's, of course, going to be options for other teams to land at their drop spot and also find success, maybe make it into the major finals as well, and then end up contesting them there. But there aren't too many names that I think they would be too concerned about. They seem to have that drop spot on lock. So if they can qualify to the major finals, they should be just fine.
Takata, who do you think is winning this next game?
Honestly, Sky and Scroll.
Oh, interesting. Okay, Mini Miner, yes or no? You agree very quickly?
Well, can I just say I did say that Chap and Flixy were going to win the next game previously, so I'm going to say it's going to be Deus and Darm.
And I'm
That's a
not
good
allowed to make any guarantees of predictions again this season. So we're going to head over to Taco and Levin, because literally Levin just laughed really loudly in my ear.
Can only wonder why some of these giggles might be taking place here, Levin. But it is very difficult to actually try and nail down a prediction for who's going to bring home a victory royale, because it seems like so many of these duos are just so hungry to prove what they've got.
Yeah, I mean, we were highlighting some of the teams throughout the game of just like how many different teams that are there that genuinely have not only a wealth of experience in these types of lobbies, but have shown in glimpses and moments that, hey, like we are actually coming to be aggressive, to be, you know, a factor in this lobby and not just let it pass us by. And so I'm very excited to see whether or not the analysts were right when it comes to their predictions. Obviously, they went with Sky and Scroll, Dharma Demish, two of the biggest names probably left in this heat, but two teams that have shown already in these first two games that they have everything that it takes to make a wave in these lobbies. So definitely going to be a good game 3.
And it's obvious, too, that the energy is going to take a little bit of a shift here now, because we are pretty much at the halfway point for a 5-game format competition, right? Third lobby just around the corner. So teams that haven't necessarily been able to work things up for consistency now might be their time to shine here in game 3. Just waiting to see what kind of further developments take place. I know that for Maxi King and Doom, they'll be looking more towards mountainous views. Chap and Flixy very openly stating that they were looking to coach this team for the remainder of this heats. So that'll be interesting in terms of how much it actually benefits them moving forward. But for Skoz, Tozio, they're just trying to win out this initial 50-50 off spawn. Vexy gonna be the one, the great pump, but unfortunately just getting tagged from way across by F9, who's just playing such a big third-party intervention here, and those shots cause such a big problem. That's gonna make it easy for Tozio and Skoz to clean this one up. The houses have been claimed, but man, that is a tough way to go out, especially with F9 lurking so close by still.
Yeah, nice to see the outcome of that one. It's interesting, right? You mentioned Chap and Flixy obviously saying they're going to now coach, you know, Maxi to help them do well. We see that a lot, right? We see a lot of players sort of qualify through, or maybe they're not playing their heat yet, and so they say, yeah, you know, we're going to come in and coach this other team and help these guys make it through. Why don't we get players coming through and saying, I want to be a guest analyst and hate watch a team I don't like? You know, like, why can't we? Why is everyone doing this coaching gimmick? Let's get some hate watch analysis. And more hate watch viewing parties. We do get a fair amount of viewing parties from players who have qualified, which is always fun. So we'll see a bit more of that. You're always invited, is what I say to the players.
You're just trying to get somebody to have a new target on their back. But for so many of these teams, though, and knowing that there are players, right, that have that experience, like Chap and Flixy, if they're helping a duo to try and qual through their spot, what do you think is the primary benefit of a duo that's already made it to the finals participating like that?
Well, I think the big thing, obviously, is, again, they understand how to play the lobbies, and just with any sort of coaching in that sense, right? Having somebody that can, again, give you that guidance, see things that maybe you wouldn't have seen yourself. No matter how much seeing you do, there's nothing you can do to stop Stan when he's running at you like that. But again, it comes down to, again, having that extra pair of eyes, right? I've seen it firsthand just how effective it can be when you're playing these games. You're so locked in. There's so many different things you have to keep track of as a professional Fortnite player in these games. And so sometimes just having a player better than you going, hey, you didn't see that there, right? Hey, think about this, you know, that can really make the difference as far as finding success and finding wins, which a lot of these teams will be looking for.
Some more adaptations taking place, though. Axe Force trying to really hunker down on the net surge control. Small shot, 20 shield lost. Nothing too heavy just yet, but needs to get a little bit more of that material farmed out. It's just knowing that there are teams further north of Latte that's going to keep Robin and X-Force a little bit more wary. They don't want to be challenged too heavily in Latte Landing, but things are already heating up. The second lobby made that clear, so this duo is certainly trying to make sure that they adapt their efforts also to not find themselves as victims to any of these new off-spawn contestations.
Well, yeah, the thing about this POI especially is you have so much elevation surrounding you, right? You're sort of almost like stuck in a ditch at times, it can feel like. And so you have to have an extra bit of awareness, which, again, you'd expect them to, landing here and playing out of here more often.
Bit of a stalemate currently. Tozio, Skoz, hoping to come out on top. I'll have to check back in later on, though, to see whether or not there is a conclusion to that affair. But as for Pablo and Chino, they're just going to continue doing a little bit of sightseeing.
Yeah. They got to do a bit more than that, though, right? Sitting in 14th place, which, again, at the moment in time, isn't a terrible spot to be in, but they do have to pick up the pace a little bit. Podesai takes Roban down. They pushed into Latte now. Podesai and Asa striking, taking their opportune moment, and a spanner thrown into the works here for Roban and Axforce, who again have been one of the more consistent teams throughout today.
Really, though, that was just awesome. Podesai, I think, actually finding the outcome that they've been seeking in that second lobby, right? Before, they had a lot of issues in game 2 because of the fact that they weren't really able to force that engagement. But this time around, with that elimination, kind of be able to keep better tabs on how X-Force and Roban actually try to make a play for the reboot, if they even can make it out for that opportunity. But I think for a team like Belusi and Zangi that's already gotten off to a really strong start here, I mean, we've seen teams just prosper off of 1 or 2 solid finishes, and now they're looking rather comfortable for the leaderboard in terms of consistency placement.
Yeah, at 132 points, they're looking more than good, right? If they can squeeze out a couple extra points from this game, they'll be well on their way to qualifying, and then that leaves them the last 2 games to have fun with it, which we've definitely seen teams in EU do, to varying degrees, of course.
And one thing I did notice yesterday with NAC's Heat 2 is that all the teams that got Victory Royales had very low points before they got those Victory Royales. Do you think it's better or worse whenever teams have like lower points and then they find that Victory Royale, or would you think that it's preferred for them to have a lot of points already and then get the win?
It depends on who you're asking, right? If you're one of the teams in the consistency spots, like you're hoping it's one of the teams, or if you're one of the teams on the bubble of the consistency spots, right, you're hoping the win comes from a team in there, right? So a spot sort of moves down. Whereas it sort of goes the other way. If you're a team far away, you sort of want to be different. So for me personally, I like to see it come from, it depends. I think for the drama, you want to see the teams who have no chance win a game, right? Because that's a bit more fun. It's like, yeah, they had to do it and they did, for the story and for the plot, but I'm not sure if the players in the lobby will always agree with that one.
Might even be tempting at times too for teams that have been placing well and already hold a strong consistency measure to potentially try and lock other teams out, right? Where the win isn't necessarily as optimal. I mean, there are a lot of, I think, strategies coming into play throughout the course of this Heats weekend. And teams that are just going to be stuck, left having to contend things through the last chance qualifier, even playing the Opens is a daunting experience. And obviously all of our contenders here today would prefer to avoid Hellfire and Tripper. They might be very well on the way of staying out of it. 76 points so far. They just got to stay consistent.
Some real OGs right here, man. Look, it's been a long time since I've been able to mention this on a broadcast, and a lot of people maybe didn't listen to me cast back in the day, but Trippin has been playing so long, he used to be my teammate back in Chapter 1. So to give you an idea of the type of experience we're talking about here. Maybe you can teach an old dog new tricks, eh?
He's gonna need them, because with the way that the E region just continues to climb upwards, so many up-and-comers looking to try and cement themselves as very valid threats. Minori and Darko certainly another one of those Dark Horse teams, I think, that is definitely hunting for their position in the Major 1 Grand Finals.
Akira and Kurama, we obviously were following them last game, and they had a fair amount of difficulty in the northern side of the map, right? We saw them trying to take the action towards Rubber and Axe Force. Asa and Podesai were involved as well, and it didn't quite pay off for them. Now, on the complete opposite side of the map, really, well, not complete opposite, but a lot further down south.
And it's
Down
still
towards
a...
the 4 fields.
Well, I was really just going to point out, like, this kind of shakeup in a game plan when you are sitting at 11 points. I mean, do you expect them to kind of start playing more map roulette, or is this another one of the circumstances where you still try to play somewhat to a little bit of practice strategy?
I think in the case of these two, it's trying to find a mid-game route that will get you into endgames consistently, right? And so I think they're going to keep doing whatever it takes to work and actually get to the endgame without being down on Surge and down on Mats. Hydro and Kaito in that last game didn't quite get to play heights, but made some decent moves in the mid and low grounds. Saw them sort of tanking zone quite a bit, and even though it wasn't maybe quite as high flying, they're definitely showing promise.
Zone kind of pulling towards this northwest territory, though. Frigid Fortress, one more time, going to be a very prevalent point in contention as teams try to base up on different sections of the mountain faces, all wanting to claim their stake and control how other teams are actually getting to rotate around them, more importantly, underneath them. Chino and Pablo, relatively strong position, ample opportunity to push off whatever direction they want to head. Good amount of materials, too. It's all about picking the timing, though, on these rotates. And I think that's where a lot of newer comers can kind of struggle.
Yeah, you don't expect to see these guys struggle with that at all. I think their main struggles has come when it comes to endgame, being able to find a win condition that keeps them moving in these games. In game 1, they lasted 20 minutes and 47 seconds. In game 2, they lasted 20 minutes and 50 seconds. 3-second difference in their games, and struggling at that point. So we'll see if after 2 games they've been able to have that light bulb moment that gets them a couple extra points out of the games, right? They don't want to be one of the teams who is going into game 5 needing a good game to qualify.
Picking back up where we left off, though, Akira and Kurama have at least managed to make it into the edge of zone here. With only 63, 109 above, net surge kind of extending upwards in their favor, but it's still just not enough. This is barely what you'd consider breathing room, and they've just got to make something happen. They're gonna have to get a little bit fraggy here. They know that there's a duo just a little bit west of them. They'll go for the opportunity, but not enough shots connecting. Still enough to push them to a more comfortable position, though.
Yeah, but they still got quite a ways to go to get to zone. And they're gonna be the last ones in on that side. Oof. I like the idea as far as positioning, but when you're down on Surge that far below and you are getting tagged up, unfortunately, it doesn't matter how good your rotation idea is. You're gonna end up in a spot like this one.
It's interesting to see Sky and Scroll just ahead of them, though. King and Doom, not too far behind either. But using all of your mobility just to make it into zone. Doesn't really leave a whole lot in reserve. Try and turn things around, and Shmali, fortunately, not going to be able to withstand the pressure of this lobby. Sliz now trying to see how much longer he can contend, but just too far underneath that damage threshold. It's basically an inevitable departure from this lobby.
I don't know if I forced a fight there if I'm them, right? You know, you make that play because you want a tank to get into dead side and not have to worry about your next rotation. And fair enough, once you get into zone, they definitely needed to potentially look for a fight, but just wait a couple seconds, the zone opens up and you're chilling now. You're back to the lobby. Looks like potentially an oversight, but we'll see.
And if you're Sky and Scroll in this position, do you choose to move right away for positioning in the next zone, or do you want to maybe take some shots at these teams directly underneath? I mean, they weren't too hard pressed in their loadouts, but it did seem like it was a good opportunity for elimination points.
Yeah, I think the big thing with them, right, is that there are a couple teams sort of ahead of them at the top of the cliff, right? And so they're going to have to find the timing. And in that case, right, if you're Sky, you're going to sort of scout, look for it. Scroll has some time to take shots at the players below as they rotate out. So you can do a bit of both, you know?
Pablo and Chino, they're going to continue to make their move. It's going to bring them directly towards Sinet and Giras, though. Asa Podesai also lurking nearby. Deus and Darm, 346 above. Always find it very important to kind of keep marks on where these players' surge threshold are actually sitting. That way you can gauge whether or not they'll even be willing to try and actually duke it out should a team or an individual be a little bit more hard-pressed for damage. Start desperately trying to challenge them. Teams just on the outskirts, though. Fredoxy, Sangil trailing just behind where Maxi King and Doom are at. A lot of congestion now starting to build on these southern portions of the edge zone.
Rare missed the edit there from Sky. Couldn't quite capitalize on that player that dropped down. These guys are big chilling. Oh my goodness. It doesn't stop for these guys. Zangi and Belusi have been on a tear when it comes to the fighting. Miniminer said it. He's loving the confidence. I'm loving it too. They are not afraid of a fight in this lobby. And that's the kind of confidence you need to be successful in these games.
They're also really just big-upping themselves for Major 1 finals, right? If they're able to really lock in, like you said, get the placement points. I mean, everyone watching this, you're gonna realize that, hey, this is a very competent duo pretending further on, but Chino, Pablo, very unfortunate circumstances, currently 329 below. They have just had such a rough go, making their way across Swanky Land, and now Chino has to overdrive himself directly into another team's box. Really nowhere left to go there. Axforce and Roban, though, feeling pretty good. Decent little refresh. Just something to keep them going.
That is real tough for Chino and Pablo. We said they needed to have an uptick in performance, especially after 2 mediocre first games. And that one being even worse is not going to do wonders for them in the final 2. Belusi and Zangi, potentially on the cusp of having their worst game so far today. I mean, you can excuse it. The 135 points they have now would potentially keep them in a safe position, especially with 2 extra games left to go. But not the team you expected to see below. How well they've been playing today.
I like this from Tripperin, though. Actively choosing to try and get aggressive. Doesn't really have much other options, given that he is 144 below. Belusi still trying to fight things out. Demon, Darmish will be able to stay strong, though. Not foreign fighting inside of the low ground, that's for sure. There's Tripperin. A little bit separated now from Hellfire, but he'll have to keep trucking forward. Doesn't really have time to hesitate. Has to just look for a big opening shot, but he's not going to get the opportunity. Just stays sealed out in the box there. High ground starting to get a little bit wacky, though. Feared and Kashi trying to see if they can hold it. Only 103 above, but this refresh is going to extend things just a little bit further for them. have a good amount of materials. They could definitely look to build things out, and so many other teams clashing directly underneath them. Scroll is down. It's only Sky left to try and build up as many points as he can for the placement. Granted, they are nestled in a pretty solid position already for the leaderboard. He might even be able to look for the revive here. It's greedy, but it's effective.
No, it's the perfect choice to make, right? 2 heads better than 1. And in this case, these 2 being in the game still is a scary, scary sight for anybody. The only team that might not be too worried about that is Darm and Deemish on our screens. Podesai and Asa will be the ones to take height initially here as the moving zones continue. But for how much longer will they keep it with so many different teams in this lobby in position to potentially take it?
But look at Deemish and Darm. They used the overdrive grenade just to get the effects. Now trying to see if they can work through the mid ground. Maybe make an approach towards height from behind, catch them off guard, but they will get caught for a moment. So many other teams also just trying to stay fixated in these positions. Sky, Scroll, a bit manic here, but at the same time, they've claimed so much space. It's all about now just luring players into their position, maybe even setting up for a pre-edit. Don't necessarily need the refresh, but every little bit counts.
Podesai and Asa continuing to try and hold their height control. But Fredoxy and Sangil, they might have something to say about it. They're looking for it. They're eager. But if Podesai and Asa can hold on, they're gonna have to hit some big shots to do it. Pressure being applied below, but they have ran out of hard materials, and that will just make them sitting ducks above Fredoxy and Sangil. Height might be out of the picture for them as Sangil goes down. Fredoxy forced to try and clutch again, and he's trying to hunt Minori down. He wants to get in a limb. He needs the materials. He needs the HP, and it won't quite happen for him.
It's just so hectic underneath. The moment that you start to do these layer swaps, the shifts, but Deemish, Darm, they found Frax. That's just going to be another elimination. Solid points. Surefour and Repairs, though, they're the ones that have actually claimed ultimate height. Sky, Scroll, very limited on the builds currently, but 2 is better than 1. That revive paying off dividends already in terms of how much placement points they've been able to secure in comparison to what the solo circumstance might have looked like. But Sky getting pieced up. Too much pressure. Backside of zone, unfortunately, isn't able to get the knock and the elimination refresh he needs. Siphon, HP, anything works at this stage for him. Only a little bit of Flowberry Mist Grenade that he's going to be able to actually leech off of. Dropping all the way down now. 3 builds remain. Deemish left as a solo contender too. Trying to see if he can keep breaking through on these lower layers. Momsy from behind. Everybody just collapsing on top of each other. But Sky, big refresh. Still not enough. The Psycho materials just barely going to keep him packing a little bit further. Spooka underneath. Sky just needs to get the opening shot. Pre-fire has to be steady, but he won't have the opportunity here. Giras taking out Kurama. It might just be Sinet and Giras' game to bring home here. Skyjump and Momsy, though, they're looking to be the difference makers. They've only got a couple moments left. A couple builds remain, but it could be enough because Giras has been taken out. Momsy's gonna strike first here. Skyjump and Momsy, they managed to get the job done. And so for France, they could be happy to see Skyjump and Momsy launching themselves on the battle bus for the Major 1 Grand Finals.
They were a team who we mentioned have been impressive in spurts, in moments throughout this year, and finally delivering the goods to secure a spot in the finals. Skyjump and Momsy are deserving. We're gonna send it back to the desk to break that game down.
Well, it was Asa and Podesai who looked like they were in a winning position and on height for quite a lot of the endgame there. But in the end, it was the alternative French duo Skyjump and Momsy who were able to take the W mini minor.
Yeah, it's all about that 11 zone, I think it was, height take. It's those sort of moments that really make the difference in these games. And I spoke about it at the end of last game. If you can fend off those teams that are jumping up and trying to take height, there's usually 2 or 3 of them, then you're good to go. But unfortunately for those guys, they couldn't quite hold on. But all the better for Skyjump and Momsy, who got together at the end of Chapter 7 Season 1 last season and started putting in some solid performances. They thought, you know what, let's stick it together. They're a team that we sort of seen playing together for a long time. time, had a little bit of a break away from each other. Now coming back into it, Takata, and finding a lot of success.
Yeah, I mean, in the Div Cups, they had a 33% top 10 rate. And starting off today, they also got top 10. Issue is, in the match before this, they got 39th with 0 eliminations. So they were quick to jump right back into that action, get the elims they needed, and also pick up high ground at that perfect moment in the final zone. So I know the French fans are going to be excited to see Skyjump and Momsy in the major finals.
And the rest of the duos in the lobby might be excited because their drop spot was uncontested towards the west of the map. So again, some opportunities for change as we head into game number 4 after the break.
Songs just a war cry by. This is my world. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
Skyjump and Momsy have won a victory royale. It means that they are going to be in the finals next weekend. Listen, okay, I was a bit surprised. They were not a duo that was on my bingo card for getting one of the golden tickets, okay? So I'm still kind of processing the shock of it all. Apologies to all the French viewers watching. There are some fantastic French duos in the lobby tonight. We're talking about one of them in just a moment, but right now I'm going to turn my attention to the east of Europe, to our Polish duo, Deus and Darm, because they're heating up as the night goes on. They're continuing to pick up multiple eliminations, and it really does feel like they're actually playing for the win. Mini Miner.
Yeah, remember, these are the guys that actually I predicted to win this game, and they didn't, so not too happy personally. But what I am happy about is how they're playing overall. They're really showing us now in these last couple of games that they know what to do in these lobbies. Even when the zone isn't necessarily perfectly in their favor, like I broke down at the beginning of the day, they had some real success when zones were in their favor. This one a little bit more towards the north, but they had every part to play in this end game as well. Even just clutching up a few of these moments, hip to hip, like we talked about before. Very, very solid from this team. They're looking really good for consistency right now, Takata, even if they don't pick up a win.
Yeah, I think just keep predicting them, Mini. You don't got to worry because they do have the second best win rate this chapter on EU. So, I mean, I'd say they're bound to win one of these matches with how they've been performing.
Yeah, they've been performing brilliantly. I do have a soft spot for Darmus and Demus. Darmus and Demus. I'm saying I like these guys, and yet I still can't get their names right. Apologies. It's about 28 degrees in my studio, and I'm definitely feeling it right now. Talking about Sky and Scroll, then moving on to them. They have not won a victory royale, otherwise they wouldn't be in the lobby anymore. We were expecting them to pick one up, but they are getting very close to Carter.
Yeah, I mean, being the only duo that plays top 10 in 50% of their Div Cups, you can expect to see them in these end games. But what keeps happening, though, is it's a solo clutch from either Sky or Scroll. I mean, first game it was Sky, second it was Scroll, and in this third game, I believe Scroll actually got picked up after getting knocked, but then Sky once again went on to get a decent little end game clutch there, but they haven't won. They're just consistently doing it very well.
Yeah, I mean, even that earlier on in that end game, they had that clutch revive, right? Where one of them, I forget who it was, ended up rolling all the way down and managed to actually get the revive off there. Then that 9th zone actually then pulls back in their favor, so they're able to continue on through that game. It's little moments like that where just having that synergy, because they've played so long together, having that understanding, having that trust in your teammate to say, yeah, you can pick up the revive now. Those little moments right there is exactly where you can see it.
Yeah, it's a lot of experience, a lot of chemistry that's on display with these guys. Let's talk about the French duo I alluded to early, though. Akira Kurama. They're starting to pick up the pace now, Takata. A big elimination game for them in game number 3.
Yeah, I mean, the issue that we said with this duo is in both the Div Cup finals, they were uncontested, and now they are contested in these heats. We saw the issues of that in the first 2 matches they played. It was basically back-to-back 43rd and not great in the first match, but now they finally made it to the end game, and they did not disappoint. 9 eliminations, 3rd place. I just hope they can keep up the pace.
Yeah, this is better. This is exactly what we want to see and expect to see more from this team. I broke it down at the beginning of the day. I was saying they're not going to make too many of these end games, but they need to make the ones that they do make count. And off the back of a couple of really poor performances, when you put it in context of how good they can be, they really made the most as much as they could, I suppose, of that end game, getting 3rd right there. I'm just now curious, these last couple of games, are they going to have some troubles off spawn? Are they going to be able to make these end games? Because if they do, they'll be doing more of the same.
Well, let's take a look at the lobby list. Remember, to everyone watching at home, we've had 3 games now. So the top 3 names, they've all qualified by victory royales to the major finals next week. And then if we scroll down, the cutoff point is 15. So that's our consistency placement. So Akira and Kurama sitting just underneath that now. But if we go to the 3rd page, you can see some of our Danish duos. Chino, Pablo Wingo and Fredoxy. Don't forget, they are the reigning major champions. They may have split now, but we're definitely expecting more from all of these players, Mini Minor.
Yeah, the particular surprise here is Chino and Pablo Wingu, and we've already had so many upsets here in the heats. I think this would be another huge upset if they don't make it. And Takara, we were talking about players that don't end up making a major final after winning it, and we kind of sort of alluded to that being more of a Fredoxy thing. Maybe we should have included the other guys in it as well. This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is not what you'd expect to see coming from the major 3 win-in trios. Now the trio split up, and at least, you know, they're staying together on the leaderboard. You would hope it's a little higher up, but 2 matches left before we conclude the day. So, hey, it could be a win for both of them. That's odds are low, though.
If both of them make it to the end game, Takata, maybe that will up their chances more, because it's a running theme with these guys, even in Reload Elite Series, even going back to when they were a trio with Fredoxy. It always seems to be Pablo or Chino trying to clutch, particularly Pablo, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope we don't see a lot of solo clutches here. The problem is I'm also seeing Fredoxy always kind of being the last alive. I don't know if the chemistry is just not going there. They have been a little unlucky, I'd say, in some of the picks. I don't know if it's they're not covering, but a lot of double pumps on either Fredoxy or Sanguild where they just instantly get deleted without the chance to kind of rack up those little bit of points every game. So I'm hoping for a big one soon.
Well, it's going to be a big game for someone as we head to game number 4 with Taco and 11-2K.
Every single one of these duos still has their own problems left to try and overcome in these lobbies, Levin. But with the final 2 just about to be underway, what do you think are some of the biggest switch-ups you're kind of expecting to happen here?
Ooh, I mean, honestly, I'm not expecting to see much change. I think what needs to change as far as some of the teams who maybe are struggling is the execution, right? We've seen a lot of these teams get in good enough positions to where you'd expect them to have decent games, the kind of games that propel you into a qualification spot. And then somebody makes a mistake, somebody overextends, somebody takes damage where they shouldn't, and then bang, we're talking about them maybe missing out on next week's finals. And so, again, it's all about the execution, I think, for a lot of these teams in this lobby.
Well, whether or not these duos are going to be able to clean things up, only time will tell. But Game 4 is ready to get started. Some of the switch-ups, though, that have been interesting. We already know the likes of Chap and Flixy, for example, taking over coaching responsibilities for Maxi King and Doom. We've also got the likes of Akira and Kurama. They're actually going to be switching out where they choose to drop. Mumsy's Forest, Old Stumpy, coached by Skyjump and Mumsy. So
there you go.
A little bit of French love to pass around and see if they can replicate some of that same success.
I mean, these are the types of things that, again, become interesting, where you have a team that good switching up. But we did talk about how, with them, they're going to have to change things each game until they find something that sticks and works. And so maybe you could say that isn't too surprising, especially from those two.
May also make things a bit better for the likes of Robov and Axe-Force, Asa Podesai. I know that those were definitely a couple teams that were consistently, seemingly clashing with them, so slightly different scenery might help everybody else indirectly. Strokey Bevies. Make it first to the gas station. Got some weapons to work with, but don't want to take shots at just yet. Just kind of waiting things through. We'll claim the slurp truck though, and off to a solid start here, just trying to see what else they can gather.
You've obviously seen these two teams having a couple back and forths over here at Riptides. Now once again, Andon and Spleeze find themselves crouching about here. They've had the better fortune, you'd say, over the course of the day. The job is not finished. Glove Sheet and Cracks still have much work to do, and that starts right now. Glove Sheet takes Jazz Key down, so they'll get a pair of limbs added to their tally, and the comeback is on.
And this is definitely right around the point where, you know, the gloves have to come off. You have to start making some big plays and conversions. Good off game or off spawn starts, the late game finishes. 6 in stand though, just hoping to survive. But Akira and Kurama just continuing to apply so much pressure here. This was not the switch up that 6 in stand we're expecting to contend with so early on, and now a little bit of third party tags. But it's not going to be enough to actually help 6 escape. Kurama and Akira opening up with 2 eliminations. That is definitely bound to bode well for them, because it looks like Wonky Land might also be in their control.
What is Fredoxy cooking here? This doesn't work, right?
Fred Lurk is a patented strategy for a reason.
This doesn't work, right? Well, this is a free beat. You take this beam, surely. Yeah, okay, cool. If we didn't take that beam, that would have been an overcook. You know you have the player isolated. He's not got a Scooby what's going on. And now you can try pinching in the 2v1. To be fair, his teammates done well to get back involved, and so Peaks will group up and they'll make a bunch of boxes, and anybody that's played comp knows when a team starts boxing up like that, you might as well just get a move on, man. These guys ain't trying to go down. Don't wanna waste your time fighting through 20 metal boxes. Sky and Scroll in a bit of a scrap here. We don't see these guys scrapping at this point in these games too often. Will they get the better hand of Bevies and Frostroki? Not without some third-party interference, and so we'll see whether or not they commit to this fight now or opt to back off.
A little bit of a delay, but Scroll, not a whole lot of material. They just need this fight, and Bevies already being knocked just means that it's gonna allow for Sky and Scroll to just continue applying a little bit more pressure. The Siphon will come through here, but Strokey still doing a decent job at just keeping Sky and Scroll at bay, but the 1 versus 2 material count was looking rather thin for both for Strokey and Bevy, so it's gonna be very difficult, but at the same time, he'll be able to wiggle his way out for right now. Get a look back to the success here for Sky, where he found this elimination originally. Just a really nice pre-edited opening shot, and it's exactly what you need to connect with.
Yeah, that's a good situation where, you know, we often talk about teams trying to find pinches, but their opponent is stuck against the hill, and so just both of them fighting head on increase their chances of picking that one up. So props to them. Darm and Deemish looking in a good position to qualify, but they'll be wanting more. They'll want to win. Still fighting here at Riptides. Wowza.
That is tough for Anden. Largely just because of the fact that you've been winning the majority of these fights all day long, and then the one lobby where you're sitting there on the cusp, 14th place on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
And now your fate exclusively in control of what happens in this 5th game. They cannot afford another early elimination departure. They are going to have to lock in for that last lobby. And it's a lot of pressure, I think, that gets added on. Be difficult for them to contend with, but it's part of the affairs involved. Competitive Fortnite after all. Snosku and Vexy also a little bit stuck here. This could be kind of just lurking nearby, trying to see if they can maybe get a third-party appearance. Chill scenes, though, for Asa and Podesai.
Yeah, I mean, I liked what we saw from them in the last game, right? Not being afraid to get aggressive on towards Robin and Axe Force. Again, you don't want to see teams shying away from what they think is the right play, just because there's some risk involved. Moneymaker and Fanaina, never a team to shy away. But up against Darm and Deemish, I mean, it's never going to be an easy 2v2. But they do look eager to force the fight to happen again. They've struggled with Surge throughout the day. I don't blame them.
Quick stat says it all. Darm and Deemish managed to qualify for every single 2025 major with the Victor Royale. So it's a very familiar setting for these two, and either way, they've definitely got a solid amount of points, but there are eliminations still taking place elsewhere on the map, and for Vexy, he's managed to find his own. Ontoax just keeping them under their heel. It's kind of how you need to control those engagements, though. You want to find those quick time to eliminations. You don't want to have to overcommit or overextend your welcomes, because then you're just allowing other teams to kind of intervene with your position, control where you're trying to rotate through, or worse still, clean you up after the fact.
Yeah, have to be conscious of that, especially with there being so many different teams trying to base up nearby.
This is a rather interesting situation, though, that Chino and Pablo have landed themselves in here, Levin. Because they're sitting at 70 points. They've got this lobby and the next one, and that's it. And they are outside of the consistency qual range currently. You've already touched on it, where they've struggled to kind of find more than just that 20-minute presence in lobby. So how do they look to correct?
Well, at the end of the day, especially for those two, you know, you can look at Fredoxy in that case as well, with all the expectation around him being so successful last year. You know, two players like this, you don't want to bottle it, you know? You don't want to be in a situation where that expectation's on you and you fall short, you know? You don't want to be the Arsenal of the lobby, right? So they want to make sure they're not in a situation to completely bottle, throw it away. And we've said it so many times, but we keep saying it because it is so important. The last chance qualifier in EU, you know, the battle bus is filling up quickly. I mean, there are way too many good teams that need one of those free spots available. And if we were to add Pablo and Chino to that list, you'd want to be confident about their chances, especially with how good they are. But I believe there was a quick stat earlier about how, you know, they're not a team that, you know, is winning a bunch of games, right? I think when you look at Heats last year, a lot of the time it's them going through in consistency. So time to turn things around.
So many teams, though, looking to kind of take their chances, opting for a more dead side position, rotation. Sned, get us. Certainly have a little bit of time to work with here. Plenty of meds, too, so it's not like they're all that worried about dealing with these early storm ticks, but you have to hope that they were able to net themselves a good amount of surge before opting for such a strat so far away from the rest of the lobby.
You'd like to think so, right? Otherwise, you know, it'd be a big misplay. We won't be analyzing much more of their game throughout the day. Sky and Scroll, I'll be honest, with everything I've seen from the Heat so far, Taco, I feel more and more confident in wanting to say Sky and Scroll will be the team that walk away as FNCS champions next weekend. I know it's a bit early to start having these conversations, but
That's a big pre-fire.
yeah, no, I feel like when you look at their consistency, their ability to, I think ultimately one of the biggest problems we're seeing with teams in general, no matter how good you are, we're seeing teams struggle to just find consistency in making end games in a, you know, stacked enough position, right? The biggest skill gap we're seeing is the teams in 6th, 7th, 8th zone. When it's time to deal with surge, can you avoid taking damage while not completely burning away all the resources you have? And they do that better than anybody in the region right now. And so if they keep playing how they're playing, we might see even more Danish FNCS champions after getting our first ones last year.
I can think of a few other duos, though, whose ears might have perked up when you said that. It is, I think, not necessarily, you know, it's not like a crazy prediction by any means, though, because they have definitely earned that kind of reputation. I mean, one big thing during the offseason in the divisional cups, when they were first contested, I know a lot of people were kind of wondering, hey, how are they actually going to be able to fare with a little bit of off-spawn fighting? And they held their own. They did an excellent job. They managed to still retain top 5 positioning inside of those Div Cup finals. So it's very obvious that they have been working on things on all fronts.
Absolutely, and look, a sort of little anecdote for people who maybe haven't been watching EU competitive for the longest amount of time. You know, there was a long period of time, especially during like sort of Chapter 2, Chapter 3, where oftentimes it was the team in EU who was just able to make it to endgame 12 out of 12 games who would just win the FNCS, right? Like just having that consistency to make it to that many endgames just meant that you were either going to be deep in the running or just outright winning. And at least when you look at how things are shaping up right now across the region, they seem to be the only team that look likely to have that type of performance. So already people's favorites, and I feel like what we're seeing in Heats thus far, at least, definitely will empower people to feel even stronger about that. As we lock back into game number 4 here. Teams who are looking to learn, improve, and secure positions for Strokey in a very tough spot in this game. Things started off so well in the day for him and Bevies. And ever since then, it's sort of cooled off for them. They've had their fair share of struggles, and it's been in fights like this one where they are just lacking in health, lacking in resources, and lacking in surge. And you have Howley and Lusher desperate to take you out. There's not much he can do, and so for Strokey, Bevies will be watching from the sidelines for now.
I want to call that the Sky and Scroll effect, really, though. Their influence early on by challenging for Strokey and Bevies really just kind of put a huge hiccup, I think, into their early game, made things rather difficult, prevented them from establishing the surge that they would have hoped for originally, and then forcing them into taking those kinds of fights that are just at such a big disadvantage. But you're right, it is difficult knowing that you're pretty much having to bank everything on your final lobby performance. And while we're on the topic, Sky just adding another one to the count here. Great challenge. Bimbo never even had a chance to really see that one coming. Beautiful play, though, from Sky and Scroll as they just continue to extend their lead for consistency on the placement position. Zangi, though, spot of trouble. A strong start to the early game. Seemed to have cleaned off a little bit here these last couple of lobbies, but he's still looking to try and punch forward, secure whatever he can. 163 below, though. Sure, you can out-heal some of these surge takes with the Chug Jug and the 3 splashes that remain, but if you fall too far behind the rest of the lobby, when you rotate in, you are just going to be gobbled alive. And sees an opportunity here. It's Asa, it's Podesai. They're trying to avoid it. They can tell that this is a player that is hoping to find a little bit more here, but that might just be a perfect opportunity for Asa and Podesai to come out on top. Some good little bits of loot secured there off of the elimination.
It's good to see that when desperation strikes these guys, they answer with their best strike, and they're gonna have to do that again as they look to bump heads. Podesai will fall. Asa getting chopped from beneath. Shots coming in from in front of him as well. Has to use the materials he adds, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough. The players are still looking to take him down. And Surge ticking away adds that much more pressure. Fredoxy in a similar spot. He's gonna try everything he can, and he almost takes Chino down before falling. Asa, it's his time coming now to join the rest of the players. Relying on that final game, it will. Money making for Nyan. That is the gift they needed to potentially give them a chance now. They've not necessarily had the best of days. But if we know anything about these two, Taco, it's that they have a win in them.
Never really want to count Popular Kid out by any means. Deemish and Darm, though, you can see them here on height, and they are making their presence known. Roban gonna be picked apart, just flying by, and that is just an easy clean up for the Polish duo. Chino and Pablo, though, we saw Fred getting a couple of tags in, trying to play a bit of spoiler to his former teammates. 17 below still, too, so that impact definitely still being known here. Darko's 114 points, though. This is a precarious position to be in right now, Levin.
And a really nice refresh there from Pablo and Chino on the left of our screens. It will keep them above as far as Surge goes. They need the extra materials. They are not looking as strong as these two, Sky and Scroll. The rich just keep getting richer in these lobbies. I mean, how greedy are these two? They don't even need extra, but they'll take whatever they can get. The rest of the lobby starving, struggling to stay in. Hellfire will fall. And while everybody seems to be playing this lobby on hard mode, it is Sky and Scroll who are on easy street. Will this be the game they just decide to win and take that last game off? We saw Zeku and El Wavy, a big Osborne win against the momentum of the day. They've been struggling over at the Riptides. And if they could win this game now, Taco, it would be a big sting and a big blow for their Osborne rivals, Pablo and Chino. A big refresh to keep their game alive.
And that's what makes things so treacherous, though, for Zeku and El Wavy up on height. You've got duos like Sky and Scroll, like Pablo Chino, that are just finding consistent little refreshes, but the confidence as well in the fighting potential. Scroll opened up the edit, immediately finds an elimination right after the fact. A little bit packed up, will lose his shields, going for the body loot, but it's nothing that's going to deter them. They're still able to play hip by hip, forcing the issue against all these teams, getting trapped inside the secondary height layer. Now, rather isolated position, tarping so much free space here. Pablo, though, left as a solo. He'll have his work cut out for him, too. Fortunately, gets himself flying towards that secondary height front side, but he might just run straight into Sky and Scroll if he's not careful, having to constantly look back. So much paranoia coming into effect here.
This is where you really start to see who the real bosses of EU are. Plays looking to be made. The zone pull will maybe change the focus around a bit. And up above, Zeku and Wavy, they still hold on to height, and they've invested a lot into it. Pablo and Chino will be eager, though, to try and make a play. Pablo in particular, as a solo, one of the better clutches in the region. And he really needs to showcase every ounce of clutching ability he has.
If there was ever a time to kick it up a notch, it's definitely now, as Scroll will net himself his third elimination. 8 in total for himself and Sky, but Sky just hanging on by a thread here. Doesn't have enough white HP to actually keep these moving forward. He'll be brought down, caught out. Scroll gonna be forced to drop all the way to ulti low. Demish, also a solo. So many strong duos now left in these solo side positions, and that just might be exactly what Seiko and Wavy need, because they're now having the opportunity to just continue laying down the suppressive fire. The Flowberry missed as well. They don't have to worry about getting chopped just yet. The lobby too busy eating itself alive.
The zone keeps pulling far, the chop will come through. And so we'll see if they are ready for a fight above or not. It doesn't look like it. Pablo, Scroll, both still fighting. Scroll deep in the zone now will push his way back in after finding his 5th on the game. Double digits for these two. And he's not done yet. Pablo caught in the box. Can't quite connect. And so now it's up to Scroll to continue the solo fight in Akira. Kurama, we've been waiting to see them have their pop-off game. And it might just be now they take the height and they take that pole position. Wavy isn't done yet. He'll look for another chop, but they might just be too much for him to handle. Two of the better players in the region, and they've been quiet at times, but now they are louder than ever. The spray continues. All the players beneath them trying to stay up in this game. Scroll can't find any space. Nobody can. It's all Kurama and Akira.
Kurama and Akira just know they've got the leverage as a healthy duo in comparison to the solo scrambling around underneath. Keto and Haijo are finally going to try and bring it to a clean 2 versus 2 scenario, but with the HP advantages being so steeply in Kurama and Akira's favor, they're just waiting things out, playing the last of their builds, applying the tags wherever needed, still getting cut off just from finding those finishing blows. Haijo's gonna go up. Haijo from behind nearly gets the shots, but spends too much time in the storm, can't handle the tick damage. Instead, Kurama and Akira turning it around here in Game 4, finding their seats on the battle bus for the Major 1 finals.
It took them a couple games to get into the swing of things, but they showcased right there why this is gonna be one of the teams to watch out for in next weekend's final. A well-deserved win, Frankie. What do you make of that one?
Incroyable for the gentle mates. I'm sure they'll be celebrating in their watch parties right now. Congratulations to Akira and Kurama for that victory. They were 16th on the leaderboard going into game number 4, so they could have qualified on consistency, but I think they'd rather get a victory royale, and that's what they did to Carter.
Yeah, they were scaring me, okay? When things kicked off today, they were scaring me. They were at that bottom half of the leaderboard. Not even bottom half, bottom of the leaderboard. First two games didn't go their way, but what I love about this duo is they adapted. Fortnite is all about being able to adapt quickly, and they did exactly that. They fixed their problems of being contested. Like I said previously, weren't contested in the Div Cups, now contested in heats, and they quickly solved that issue within 2 matches. The third game, they got 3rd place, and now the game after that, they won the match.
Yeah, I mean, we said it going into this game, right? That these guys needed to have a good performance in the end games that they make, because it wasn't a guarantee that they were making them. If you looked at the history of today, they had a 3rd place in last game, and then that one right there, they absolutely made the most of it. And what a performance from them as well, taking height at a really good time. It's something we spoke about a lot today, is that timing of taking height of a team that seemed like they were holding on to it so strongly in the team on height right there. And what they were doing so well was just staying so high above everyone else. But Akira and Kurama using that experience, waiting till they dropped down to lower layers, and then they took it to Carter. It was really nicely played.
Yeah, solid loadout as well. I mean, the main issue was just getting to the end game with the kit that they needed. It was all early game problems. They have the experience, they have the chemistry, they've been playing together for so long that the only issue was they had to make it to those end games, and the 2 end games they actually made it to. Top 3 in both of them, secured a win in one of them. This is exactly what I wanted to see from this duo. And now in the major finals, I was saying they're always kind of in that middle section. I'm hoping that this year, hopefully this major, but at least this year, we see some really good things come from them.
The road to land redemption for these guys starts here. All they need now is top 20 in the major finals next weekend, and then they'll be able to book their train tickets from France to Germany for the PSD Bank Dome in Dusseldorf, May 30th and 31st. Don't forget to get your tickets now. And I imagine there's some of the green suits and the rest of the Gentlemates fans who are hoping it'll be worthwhile to book their tickets. It's looking from the French jurors tonight like they might as well, because France is definitely on the up. We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, we'll be getting ready for Game 5.
Just a war cry by. This is my world. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
This is it, guys. Just one more game until Heat 3 concludes, and we'll find out who's going to be competing for the last chance qualifier and who will definitely be playing in the major finals next weekend. So let's bring up the lobby list. I just want to shout out to the French again, because we've now had 2 French duos get victory royales today. And if you look at the leaderboard, I'm hoping we might get to see where our other French duo is. Podicide and Asa, unfortunately, they've fallen out of the top 10 after that game. So let's go on to page number 2 and see where they're at and if they could potentially qualify today, because I know then we'll have some happy fans in the chat. It looks like 17th. So if they can pull off a great performance in game number 5, we could be seeing them in the major finals next weekend. Let's take a look at number 14, Pablo and Chino. They've been up and down so far in the lobby. They keep having to try and clutch at the start of end games, and it hasn't quite been working out for them, Takata.
Yeah, I mean, these are FNCS major champions, and not only that, in the most recent major 3 of trios, they were the champions, and there's yet to qualify themselves. They can be put on that list that we showed at the start of the show if it's champions that don't qualify to the following major, and I know many that they don't want to be on that list.
Yeah, mid really is my sort of analysis of these guys so far. It's been very mid for them. They've only just about done enough, I suppose, to be in that top 15 and find themselves in the qualification range. You could say, yeah, they want to stay in the lobby. They want to try and keep their drop spot free for the grand finals if they do make it there. But if that was true, they'd almost be making the sort of top 3s. They've sort of had decent enough end games, 12th, 14th, 30th, and 8th in their games so far. So they're just doing okay, which is enough in this caliber of lobby to get you through with players of their experience. It's just not what we expected from them, I think, especially for me personally. I was expecting them to be sort of top 5 right now in the consistency at the very least. So it's like, yeah, a bit surprising, but you know, they're the sort of players that can pop off if they do make it to the major finals.
And Belusi and Zangi have been popping off so far today. 18 eliminations. One of the highest eliminating duos in the lobby tonight. They have been playing fearlessly, Mini Miner.
Yeah, they have, and it was something that I spoke about earlier on in the day. Their sort of confidence to go for height, their confidence to go for those refreshes to Carter. But I mean, it's going to be close, all nevertheless at the end there. It's going to be really, really close because, of course, they're just on that border.
Yeah, and as a reminder,
it
is top 15 that qualifies because we're counting those 5 victory royales. So that top 15 number was the cutoff. Now, going off Heat 1, Heat 2, it was 136 points. You were mentioning Belusi and Zangi, Mini. They are at 138 points. So going into this last match, all of those duos kind of on that 15th range are feeling the pressure. What's most extreme is Belusi, Zangi were 2nd place in consistency going into the last match, and after only getting 2 points, now they're down right above that cutoff. So if they go down once again with only getting 1 or 2 points, they might not even make it.
Well, let's bring up the lobby list again, because we didn't have much of a chance to look at page number 1. I'm curious to see where Deus and Darm are, because this is a duo that have been playing so consistently, so well today. They may well get a victory royale in the final game. You might as well go for it, right, guys, given that it's game number 5. And I think the way that they've been playing so far, they look ready for the grand finals lobby, Mini Miner.
Yeah, they do. They've been pretty good. You know, they should be home and dry now as well. They're 6th overall on the standings. They shouldn't have to worry too much about that. A little bit of extra practice for them here in this last game. But even for some of the teams that are way lower down, it could be now a win or nothing. And that could be really where some of these teams that are slightly lower down, maybe like Fredoxy's duo, and maybe someone like Trippen's duo, players that we know about in this region that you'd expect to see in major finals maybe a few chapters ago, they now need a big game. So huge eyes on those guys right now.
Well, Trippen, give it everything, because if you don't qualify for the major finals, Levin is sure to want to play with you. He's already put the offer on the broadcast. So let's see if that happens. Fingers crossed for you, mate. Let's head to game number 5.
Interesting thought process. I don't know that, you know, Levin, you're not ready to take your talents back to the player side of things just yet, right?
No. I don't recall offering him out. I think he's much better off playing with Hellfire. And look, hopefully it stays that way, because this is a big game 5. Look, you know, at the end of the day, if you miss out today, you're going to have to leave it to the LCQ. We've already seen plenty of players in that position. We've already seen plenty of people this weekend bottle it when it mattered the most. And so you don't want to be added to that list. You have to make this game number 5 count.
Yeah, and with everything essentially being on the line here, because the avoidance of the last chance qualifiers is not even about playing the LCQ. You have to get through LCQ opens to even qualify for that lobby in the first place. And with so many strong contenders already waiting on that battle bus, I mean, that is the one bus seat you don't want to have reserved your name for. But we'll see what happens here in Game 5.
It is that time. Game number 5, where the magic happens. The drama has been elite in EU this weekend. And this will be our final installment of it. Who will win this final off spawn? Up here, it's not looking good for Pengi. Goes down, Luna. And Shies are well on their way to sending those guys straight back home. And right now, it's these fights that mean the most. You have to make the early game count. And if you can't do quite that, maybe there was never a chance of you in that heat. Zangi and Belusi, a team who were making waves to start the day. Taco. And with this final game, have the opportunity to really just cement themselves in as one of those consistency teams.
Everything except being eliminated early. That's all that has to be going through their minds currently. But for Fredoxy and Bevies, they are also playing for their tournament life here. Bevies not going to be able to find the shots, just gets rung around. And now Fredoxy left to try and pick up the pieces, but Zeku not going to be able to get away. Fredoxy has held his own for the time being, but Wavy might be able to go for the revive instead. He's going to just look to play off the elimination there. Bevies trading elims, it seems to be the mentality here instead. Thought for a moment things are going to just settle between these two duos. Instead, they've drawn the attention of another team entirely. Fredoxy, this is way more than what he bargained for, and that is going to be it. Bevies and Fredoxy are sent packing. Take their odds with the LCQ here. Spleeze and Anden, on the other hand, more than happy to pick up the remains. Eliminations, very messy down at Riptides.
And that is tough because we saw just how impressive Wavy and Zeku were in that 4th game. But now the team that has been winning most of the day at Riptides will come out victorious in the final game. Can they make it count is the question. They need a big game here for it to have all been worth it.
One team though that's definitely not feeling much pressure here. This might as well just be another Noble Scrims lobby for them. Deus and Darm, 168 points. They have guaranteed themselves a position in terms of consistency. But if they can still find the Victory Royale here in this final lobby, it'd certainly be a way to send themselves off in style for that Major 1 finals. They're hunting Bexy currently. Snozcu also trying to see if he can actually push back, but Deus has lost his shields. Took a pretty big shot from Vexy there. So that'll force him to come to a little bit of a halt here now. Still not fully deterred. They want to condition teams to stay away from Dark Dominion. So these are the kinds of fights that you want to secure here in Deus and Darm's position. It might start right here, getting these opening shots. Let it come through, and he will bring down Snozcu. And now pressure from 2 different angles. Just too much to handle there. Snozcu and Vexy taken down.
And props to Darm there. Demus is the one that picks up the 2 elims, but when Demus had to heal, it was Darm that kept both players occupied and allowed the space and the time for his teammate to get his HP up, and they closed the fight out quickly. Plenty of fighting still left to do here at Wonkyland though.
Zarvin Finchek certainly lurking around. ADN, Zolx, Josh and Wavy. They have their own battles directly laid out in front of them. They might not even be aware of the fact that Zarvin Finchek are hoping to see if they can get some opening shots here. A little bit of hesitation. This is so reserved, so patient right now from Finchek. He's getting as close as possible. but he loses the opportunity. It doesn't make a difference, though. He's still able to get what he was after. First elimination opened things up. Zarb trying to see if he can gather yet another. Every single point counts for this duo because they are currently only sitting at 72-11. They need a big finish to find themselves working their way up the leaderboard, and that is a huge opening sequence for these two.
That, nothing but props. Nothing but props. The patience there to commit to the lurk all the way through. And it is rewarded. Pablo and Chino. We talk about all the expectations on them. And it's been way too close of a day than what you would expect from two players of their caliber. So hopefully a comfortable 5th game here to just shut everyone up. Make everyone who's potentially doubting them think otherwise, but with 4 builds and low HP for Pablo, I mean, maybe we have a reason, correct reason to worry.
Exhibit and Chris Buka, though, on that other perspective, they were at 10th heading into this final lobby with 141 points. Now the question remains, will it be enough for them to stay inside of the consistency metrics for the leaderboard, or will they be just pushed out that qualifying section? Their fate's no longer in their own control. But big elim still taking place here for Sky and Scroll. Whether they win or don't, Levin, it doesn't matter for this duo. They have already locked themselves in for the Major 1 Grand Finals, and right now I think it's just about telling everyone else in the vicinity this is why you should never try to challenge anything near RPOI.
Well, this is the thing, you know, I was hammering on her about it last game. But the reality is I'm actually glad they didn't win a game today, right? Or at least they might still win this final one, right? Them winning this final one would be the ultimate flex. But I mean, what we've seen from them today as far as, you know, the level of play, it's been the most impressive of any team in the heats. Heat 1, Heat 2, Heat 3. They've been the best we've seen. And so I'm glad they showed us in these 4 games so far how good they are, and this 5th one to top it off would be even better if they could win it out.
Either way, they're definitely going to be celebrating as they wait for next week's Major 1 Finals action to debut. Keto and Haijo, 145 points, also still nestled inside of the qualifying portion for the leaderboard in terms of consistency, but obviously you'd rather find yourself closer towards that 6th through 9th position out of the top 15, technically speaking.
Sure.
Don't want to leave any room for error.
We've seen people drop out, right? We've seen people drop out in Heat 1 and Heat 2 where they were comfy in Game 5, or maybe not comfy, but they were in the, you know, top 10 in Game 5. And then you fall out, you slip out just because you have a bad final game. Don't want to leave anything to chance, like you said.
These final lobbies, though, for the Heats, they always get incredibly scrappy. I mean, 3rd zone, we're already looking at just 63 players remaining. The lobby has been getting very fraggy. Teams that know that their only shot to make it for the Major 1 Finals and avoid the terrors of the LCQ is by finding that victory royale. They are just doing everything they can, switching up whatever they feel they need to, forcing whatever engagements they feel like might just net them a slightly better position, a slightly easier rotate. Hellfire Tripper, one of those duos that doesn't necessarily need the win, but they do need top 5, top 3 finish, some eliminations to go with it if they want to punch their ticket to the Major 1 Finals.
And it's understandable if you're a team who has struggled today with Surge, which the majority of teams it feels like have been, you just don't want to leave it up to chance in this final game. You're going to go out of your way to make sure you are well above. And that comes with a bit of risk. It comes with a trade-off. And in this case here for Asopodesai, Hellfire Trippin, 2 teams who, again, are within the range. A good game could do it. You don't want it to slip through your fingers in the final moments. So Trippin Hellfire will retreat for a moment. They aren't the only ones in this area looking to get some easy damage.
The problem too is that one of the teams so close by, Fortnite, they don't necessarily need this fight. They do have 115 points, but they still want to find themselves with an opening into zone where they're not going to get caught, where they're not going to get pressed. And I think right now their current position doesn't allow for it. But Sky, Scroll, 4 eliminations. They've been getting rowdy over by Sus Studios. Josh and Bimbo. Fortunately, their current point counts kind of let you know what sort of day they've had. But these are important experience building matters.
Absolutely. You know, I think making out to this stage, especially when you maybe don't have the experience of a Sky and Scroll, you can definitely be proud and get back to the drawing boards, especially when we have LCQ coming up very shortly. The opens for that will be tomorrow. So Sky and Scroll, like you said, more aggressive today, big shot, but still taking smart fights. I mean, they aren't just jumping in willy-nilly, even though when they do exactly that. Scroll, quick elimination. Sky, I mean, these guys are so impressive, and now so much map control. They can continue to roam about this area. Hellfire and Trippin, the bait works for them, and so they will find one, but can they find another?
Trippin and Hellfire more than content though to just take their spoils as is. 85 points now, another 3 thanks to that elimination. They know they've got that solo a bit isolated here. They'd like to make it 2 if they can, and it looks like they are just steadily whittling away. This Vantage B, only so many places left to run, just trapped in the corner of the box. Hellfire and Trippin will find the second there onto Eddie. Pablo Chino though, just off in the distance. Trippin and Hellfire definitely gonna have to keep their wits about them.
Absolutely. Giras and Sined, an attempt to avoid all the madness that is the fighting we are seeing.
Slow and steady. 158 points too though. So they don't necessarily need to connect with the rest of the madness of this lobby here, Levin.
Not at all. I mean, again, you don't want to just throw a game away. You want to treat it for what it is. A nice little bit of practice for next weekend. These guys are practicing their W keying though, and respectfully. Completely get the jump. And there was just no chance for peaks whatsoever.
Poor Gaps. Just knows what's coming next. But Sky and Scroll, I love to see this level of aggression from them. Just continuing to extend. A lot of confidence in their own ability too. Fredoxy and Sengil though, definitely one of our duos that's kind of looking at a all or nothing win condition here in game 5.
I mean, there isn't much to say as far as what it is they need to do. It has to be the win. And it's been something that has eluded them for quite some time. So the odds are definitely against them. But never say never. Sky and Scroll continuing their hunt. Big tags onto Zarb. And once again, an opportunity for them to add to their tally. Who said these guys can't get fraggy and get double-digit in games?
They're certainly looking to change that narrative. That is pretty potent strat out of these two. They didn't find the elimination they're hoping for despite taking out the shields fully there. Zarb and Finchek enough to push back, and largely just the rest of the lobby's influence preventing Sky and Scroll from continuing to get a little bit more fraggy in that circumstance, but they still sent Zarb and Finchek into a rather difficult situation. See, they're causing a little bit of congestion here in comparison to where Sky and Scroll are currently based at. And they'll have plenty more opportunities, I'm sure, to just try and bring down duos or individuals with those 3, 2, 1 countdowns.
Absolutely. And both of these players are just unbelievable. I think you look at them individually, a lot of people maybe underrate their abilities. Not anymore. Both of them on a rampage in this game, while everybody else is struggling to try and get some points on the board. These guys are thriving, and it won't be the last time we see them thrive on this FNCS broadcast. I'm sure we'll be seeing plenty of it next weekend. Zangi and Belusi looking to try recapture some of their form from game 1 and 2. Well above on Surge. And so they have one piece of the puzzle working. It's just about connecting with the others. Chino and Pablo in the distance there. What a game this is for them. Everything on the line here.
Yeah, you cannot leave this up to chance if you are Pablo and Chino. They need to make sure that they close things out in a confident fashion. But it's so hard too, Levin, because you begin to sort of question whether the aggressive front is the direction that you want to head when you are this close to being knocked out of the consistency metrics.
I'm calling it right now. We're getting a classic all-timer Pablo Wingu clutch. It's coming.
They've been delivering
One of
with
them's
those.
going to go down and the other's going to have the clutch. I'm going to say it's Pablo who gets the job done.
Tripper, Hellfire. A little bit of trap, still some leftover pizza slices, but Sky Scroll. They have encountered a little bit of issues here, I'd imagine, with Sky being left as a solo. They want to hit those double-digit eliminations. Sky's just going to have to pick up 2 by his lonesome. Still, hard to be concerned when you know that they are safely qualified for that Major 1 finals. Tripper and Hellfire, on the other hand, they are still having to fight tooth and nail to try and secure their position. Podesai Asa not going to take their chance. 4 above the damage threshold, so they certainly had their own fair share of blows when it comes to Surge. Now just gonna sit 19 below. They need to find shots. Some of these teams that are rotating just a little bit after the fact compared to them. Podesai immediately trying to take advantage of Moneymaker on the low ground, but you won't be able to connect. These opportunities are just so slim to come by. You can see just how difficult it is. I mean, F9 and Moneymaker, what even brought them here in the first place was just a solid elimination there onto Loki, but still have to keep it going.
Window of opportunity opening up. For Zangi and Belusi, with so much fighting happening, they're trying to chop it out from below. And if they just keep on spraying their weapons, they might just find something, eventually opting to give up as the activity dies down a bit. Unfortunately, the zone against their backs will mean that now they are on the receiving end of some spray.
Not only that, but scenes are looking a little bit grim here right now for Axe-Force and Robob. 60 below, still within striking range. This could be a big moment in getting the elimination onto Katie. That's definitely going to buy them a little bit of extra time here, but still only 106 above, and it comes at such a steep cost. When they went for the body loop, Robob be forced to just try and truck ahead. That was a solo. And he needs quite a few more points to be able to work his way up on the leaderboard. I just think that this is so complicated now because only one more pizza slice left to his name. He has to hope that there is an unsuspecting duo or solo that just runs by his current box where he can open up an edit and find a big shot. But he's going to need a refresh.
This lobby is starting to heat up. The pressure is mounting. The door is closing to the major finals. Who will be the final team to crawl through it? Trippin, with just 1 HP, is able to get back to Hellfire and heal up a bit. Firing in Kashi hasn't been the most exciting of days for these two. And so to steal it away with a win here would be monumental. Pablo and Chino, the favorites of the Heat, who have not shown that level, Trippin and Hellfire fall. And so again, we're seeing the Titans toppling Chino and Pablo with a great refresh there. I said it was going to be a solo clutch. Both of them want to do it hand in hand.
And that's going to be their best opportunity, though, to confirm their qualifying process towards the Major 1 finals. Pablo's got to play catch-up, though, where Chino is at. High ground, definitely sending him consistent reminders that you've always got to keep tabs on what's taking place overhead. Fiatin and Kashi, though, they need this win more than anyone. This is their only opportunity to really guarantee themselves a position in the Major 1 Grand Finals. But Chino, so much more HP to work with in comparison to Pablo. Gonna drop the last of his Chug Jug for his teammate here. Backside of Zone, they get another duo on the other side of it, but Pablo with the first knock. The elimination needs to happen, but look what's happening up above. Deus and Darm interrupting Prax. Glubshy actually gonna take over ultimate height. Pablo still stuck in the dirt, but the Siphon, that could be enough. You said it yourself. Can he get the solo? Can he get the clutches he needs every point possible? Another elimination on to get us, along with the Chug Jug to boot. He's going to be able to replenish some shield, but does he get a chance to breathe? 166 points, Levin. I think he's done enough, but now it's all about how consistently can he reign through with this string of eliminations. Glubshy, Prax, looking to tear things up from the high ground.
Glubshy and Prax, they now hold the keys. Pablo, he's still going though. He's a smooth criminal. The movement. What maneuver could possibly be smoother? He keeps hitting shots. He finds more bodies in the storm. And he will finally go down, but the job is finished. What a performance. We know he can clutch, but he's not the only one in this lobby who's looking for it now. Glubshy and Prax still hold on to height. Deus and Darm wiping through the lobby. And they're gonna hope for Glubshy and Prax that they are not standing in their way. Darm goes down, Demus in the storm deep, looking for the early heal off. Prax and Glubshy might have done enough here to secure themselves. Demus will try one last time to steal the wins out of their hands, but this would be quite the tough task. It won't happen for him. And so Glubshy and Prax will secure their spot in the finals with a Game 5 clutch win.
Hey, better late than never after all, and what better way to do it than a win in game number 5. Glubshy and Prax, a huge congratulations. Welcome to the Major 1 Grand Finals. But Frankie, Takata, Minnie, what do y'all got to say?
Well, that was a fantastic ending to heat number 3. I loved seeing Deus and Darm take on Glubsy and Prax in the air and in the low ground in those final moments. Takata, what a victory.
Yeah, Glubshy Prax were 25th going into this last match, so they literally needed that win to qualify, so I'm glad that they got it done. But hey, shout out Demus too. What was that, 12 eliminations? Are you serious? But back to Glubshy Prax, they got the victory. They needed it in that last moment, Minnie, and we'll see them in the major finals.
Yeah, really impressive stuff from these guys. I remember Glubshy back in the day, maybe like 3 to 4 years ago, was always regarded as like a real great promising talent in the German scene. Everyone was sort of raving about him, was like, yeah, this is the next big player, the next big thing coming out of Germany. Hasn't quite reached those heights, you have to say, at his current level, but maybe this is the beginning of a surge for Glubshy right now to maybe make it to the very top of EU competitive, even breaking down something specific in that game. I really like the way they took height. They were very confident to stay back in the storm, and that can't be understated of how difficult that is to stay confident and stay almost committed in that play when all you need really is a win. You know, realistically, these guys were so far down. To stay committed in that play in the storm, to stay confident in your IGL's calls to do it, ended up paying off so greatly because they were able to take over height from Deus and Darm, who did end up trying to take it off them again at the end. Didn't work out for them, but what it did work out for is Prax and Glubshy, who have performed pretty solidly today and a deserved member of our FNCS Grand Final.
I love to see it. More and more German players every single day are qualifying to the major finals. They will have to get top 20 to qualify to the Summit 1 LAN in Dusseldorf, but I'm loving it so far, Frankie.
Well, let's take a look at the winners from today's matches. We've got 5 Victory Royale winners who have already booked their spot in the major finals from their wins. And then obviously in a moment, we'll take a look at who qualified via consistency. But cast your minds back to the start of the day, guys, because Nebs and Nathan representing the UK, they're going to the finals next weekend, Mini Miner. We couldn't be prouder.
Yeah, they are. I'm looking at all these wins as well. We got UK, Germany, kind of. You also got Chap. France, Germany. It seems like there's just domination right now of just 3 regions. I like to throw UK in there as well. But yeah, what an overall day it's been. I mean, it's been, you know, sort of had everything. We've had some surprises along the way as well when it came to the wins, but also some teams in there that you'd expect to get a win, and they did.
Well, the leaderboard is ready, so let's see the other 10 duos who have qualified already for the major finals next weekend.
Ooh.
Goes without saying that Sky and Scroll were just effortless in the lobby tonight. They might not have got the Victory Royale, but they knew that they did not need to, whereas Darm and Deem is always fighting for the win, but knowing they can make it to every single endgame to Carter.
Yeah, I mean, going into today, these were 2 of the top teams that we expected to perform well. To be honest, Sky Scroll in that last match, they were just keying everybody. They were having fun with it, going for as many eliminations as possible, and then again ended on a solo clutch. I think every single game today, it was a solo clutch. I'm hoping it's just a Heats thing in major finals. They fully lock in and get that chemistry back. But also, shout out to Belusi and Zangi. They got me a little scared going into this last match. They went from second on the consistency leaderboard, dropping down to right at that cutoff, but now back in the top 10.
And look at number 10, guys. Chino and Pablo, they have done it. They have clutched their way into the finals, Mini Miner.
Yeah, it wasn't smooth, was it? I think it was far from smooth today. They got the job done in the end, as expected. Slightly different circumstances. We get to see the second page. Ooh, close.
So close. But Hijo and Kaito, sorry to Carter to interrupt you there. I just wanted to highlight them because their highs were extremely high today.
They were, and they made it in at 164. This is actually the highest cutoff we've had for the EU Heats. A lot of big names not making it. The last chance qualifier is going to be stacked.
It's going to be stacked. Also, can I just give a shout out? The Solari duo qualified in 14th. I think they're also French. So I think we have 3 French duos who have qualified. This is going to be absolutely epic. Obviously, loads of German players already. The Brits. I can't wait to see the final lobby list for next weekend. But obviously, we're going to have the last chance qualifier on Tuesday. So, hey, maybe we'll get to see Fredoxy and Sangil competing again. They're going to have some extremely tough competition. I want to kind of look at the list. I wish I could look at the list right now of the potential names they'll be up against, because I think it's going to be quite a fierce competition, Mini Miner.
Oh, it is. I'm really excited for that last chance qualifier. We're going to be broadcasting it as well, and we got 5 games of where only the win matters. If you're new to the whole format, today it was wins and consistency in that particular format. 5 wins, 5 victory royales, 5 games. It's going to be exciting because we've got some very big veteran names that are yet to qualify to the major final, so it's going to be electric.
Well, 2 of the names who have qualified are Hijo and Kaito, 11th on the board in terms of their consistency. So let's bring in Hijo right now. Hijo, are you there? Congratulations. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling so amazing. Like, it still feels unreal. I'm kind of shaking right now because it was kind of close for our qual. But yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Oh, Hijo, high risk, high reward, because you were going hard from the very start of this lobby. Was there any point when you said, actually, maybe we do need to like hold back and play a little bit safe to reach the end game?
So, like, our strategy was to go for high ground in the first and second game because most of the kids are like shaking in the lobby. But it sadly didn't work out, so we didn't win a game. So then I was like focusing more on mid game to get consistency and quality consistency. And I think that went pretty well.
I love it. Look, Hijo, you've made it in now, so I want to talk about the next steps. In terms of major finals, what do you think you and your duo have to work on the most to be prepared?
I think we have to work on the most just to get Surge, because in this meta, it's all about like getting to endgame. It's way harder to be consistent and to reach consistent endgames. So I think that will be our priority. And other than that, just prepare, look like at the drop map where everyone is landing and make the best strategies.
I mean, we got the LAN in Germany, right, in the Major One Summit. Is that something that you're going to be going for? How excited are you for that LAN if you can make it there?
Well, I'm really excited because obviously we are a German duo. So these past months, like I've only been grinding to qualify to the LAN, and yeah, I think that's my goal, to reach top 20, and I'm sure we can make it.
Hi Joe, we've never had a FNCS LAN in Germany. What are you expecting from that crowd? Why should we all be excited for the fans in Düsseldorf?
Well, I think Germany is one of the best players and one of the best crowds, and I think like the atmosphere will be amazing. And obviously, I think all the German players should try hard so we can represent our country. And hopefully one of the German teams is gonna win the LAN.
So it's all good blood between you guys and the German contingency. Hi
Yeah.
Joe, thank you so much for talking to me. Before I let you go, how can people find you online?
So it's HydroFN. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. I would really appreciate every follow, and yeah.
Oh, amazing. You're grinding on the content as well. Incredible, Hydro. Congratulations. Please pass on our congratulations as well to Kaito as well. And we will see you in the major finals.
See ya.
Awesome.
Exciting.
I love how excited Hydro was as well. Obviously, like him and Kaito in that last game, giving it their all to Kata.
Yeah, it's what you love to see. I mean, that's the fun of being able to not qualify just through the VR, but also through consistency. Already stacking up the lobby with German players, as Haijo was mentioning. So I'm very excited to see how those major finals play out, and we see what 20 duos make it through.
Yeah, and can I just say as well, I actually played with Haijo in a 1v1 tournament all the way back in Chapter 3. We actually beat Levin and Pink in that video. It was actually for the broadcast. I do remember all of those times. Levin's not happy in my ear right now, but I'd like to imagine that I played a significant role in his development as a player. So really excited to see Haijo just reaching what I thought was his potential, which is great.
Production, can we get a bingo card, please, for next week? Because I feel like Mini Miner, every so often, Mini Miner's just like, yeah, I played with this guy back then. I played with this guy back then. That's like every time I say some idiom that no one else has ever heard of, that's definitely a bingo square. Every time Takata gets excited for the Spanish, definitely a square. And again, Mini Miner, when he finally says, geez Louise, we call house. Thank you so much for everyone for watching the heats. We've had an absolute blast. Don't forget though, we've got last chance qualifiers coming your way. It's going to be starting a little bit later, 18:45 Central European time. Do not miss it. It's going to be electrifying, and so will the North American lobby coming up later tonight in a couple of hours on this channel. So please stick around. But from us right now, let's sound that horn. Well done, guys.
crank up back to back. Oh, oh, just like that. I see a dub in my future stats. Oh, I know a place you can go. The doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy,